Yngwie's name was the marquee as the marquee artist, which we all expected and knew. We knew our place in the band, but we also didn't think that we were going to be treated and looked upon as kind of the help. But the clippings that you sent us, we realized maybe you're not the guy for this. I was fired from the band before I even got a chance to prove myself. Nobody knows this.
Did Yngwie talk to you when you were leaving? Did he try to get you to stay? Like, hey, we'll fix the pay issues and all that? Or what happened? Did you have a big conversation? Or
You're the first one that's actually ever asked me that. It's funny. Even if you want to start off with Talisman right now, that's one I absolutely 1000% can say there's no justice in the world, because that band had it all. Let's do it this way. We can't go your route. That's not going to work.
Yeah.
Hung up the phone, and it was not even 24 hours later, I got a call from his sister saying he took his life. They wanted to try a couple things, but I remember getting a call from Neil. He's go, dude, you might need to pack your bags and come out here and save this tour. Within a month, I got a handwritten letter from Brian May. The movie came out September 7th or 8th, and 3 days later, the world stopped. Went over with him and he goes, hey, Gene, I just wanted to introduce you to my buddy, singer Jeff Scott Soto. And he said, oh, Jeff Scott Soto, the man who'll sing on anybody's album for $1. I'm basically here just to help you push your channel. I love your channel. I love the guests that you have on. Next day, email, hi, Jeff, welcome back to the band.
No shit.
I fought my way back into that band because I really wanted it, and I got it back.
Holy!
You're the first one I've ever told that to in a public way. Now everybody's going to hear about it.
I appreciate it, because wow!
If my name is dropped at any circle in this industry, people know who I am, and that to me means it holds its weight in gold.
The hair metal guru from Warren to Crew. The hair metal guru. Never forget Charlie too.
Hey, Jeff Scott Soto has had one of the most insane careers in the history of rock. Played with Yngwie Malmsteen. He was in Journey. He shared the stage with Queen. His voice was featured in the movie Rockstar. He had a phenomenal history fronting the underrated Talisman. Worked with bands like Eyes, W.E.T, and Sons of Apollo. Holy shit, the list is never ending. With that, Jeff Scott Soto, welcome to the show.
What's up, Anthony?
Hey,
let's preface before we begin. I got to say I'm really enjoying your interviews, especially the recent ones. The Greg Giuffria one, I was like you. I had to get up and do a lot of things in between because that thing ran like crazy.
Yeah.
But I mean, for a man that's been absent from the business for so long, there's a lot of information to catch up on. Whereas there's a lot of information for me to give you, but it's a lot of things that have been discussed and kind of been all over the place anyway. But thank you for having me on the show. And I also have to point out the strangeness of, it's called a hair metal guru, but you have no hair.
I know. And you know what? You know how many times I've said like shit, I worried about pigeonholing myself with that name. Because know, some people don't like that name. They don't want to be associated with that.
Yeah, it's kind of like the yacht rock thing. The ones that are in that category, they don't like that term. They don't like the coin, the phrase of yacht rock, and it doesn't bother me. I mean, as long as you know who I am and listen to the music, you can call it whatever you want.
Right, right. And I think it's becoming more socially acceptable, but I get that some people feel like it's a negative term. Anyway, I don't know that I associate you with that term.
No.
So many different things.
Well, I'm basically here just to help you push your channel. I love your channel. I love the guests that you have on, especially even Mike Frazier, who's one of my favorite engineers of all time. It was so cool to hear all those stories and all the. Again, you might have seen or heard different interviews from, but for some reason, especially because you're the kind of, when you do your podcast, you let them speak to the point, almost to the disadvantage if they just go on forever. And that's probably going to be happening with us. But what I love about that is that you get a chock full of information from it that you normally wouldn't get when they're quick answers, quick questions, and move on. This is, I love your format. So congratulations. And I hope it keeps growing for you.
Thank you. I'll just point out, like, I've been listening to the new Ellefson-Soto CD Unbreakable for the last.
Nice.
So I want to get into that.
Absolutely. We'll talk about anything you want, man. Everything's on the table.
Awesome. So you have such an extensive career, and I don't know if people know this, but essentially you might call this your 41st year. Your first album came out in 84, but essentially you're celebrating 40 years in the music business. Does that
Right.
even seem like plausible? 40 years?
It's crazy because some things feel like and seem like so long ago, and some things feel like they were just a few years ago. And so, as far as going that far back, some of the Yngwie stuff, some of the Talisman and Cooney stuff, some of it feels like distant memories, and some of it feels like it just recently happened because, especially the fond ones are the ones obviously that kind of stick with you. The harsh ones you kind of want to forget about, but you shouldn't forget about them because, as anybody has ever asked me if I have any regrets in life, I don't, because out of something that you do wrong or bad that you'll never do again, you wouldn't know that unless you've done it. So you have to experience life, you have to experience downfalls and wrong decisions, etc., to know not to do them again. So that's, you shouldn't have regrets. Regrets are educational. That's how I see it.
And I mean, like reading my intro, you're like, holy shit. Like people would die to have that career, and people would die to have your hair. So
Well, it's all up in a bun right now, but
and
it's
counting
still there.
myself, counting
It's still
myself.
it's hanging on. It's hanging on for dear life. You know, I'll be 60 in November.
Yeah.
So it's the fact that again we're going into the I can't believe it's been 40 years part of the interview. It truly doesn't feel like it's been 40 years because yes, I've done so much, and yes, it when you see it on paper, it's like, oh my god, that's a lot. But I really feel like I haven't done that much.
Sure.
It's crazy.
And you, I'm just, and I'll, this is the last time I'll kiss your ass, but like you don't age, man. I mean, you must work out because you look like you're 40 if you're, and you said you're like going on 60. You look like a young.
November, I'll be 60. Yeah, but thank you. That's it's a behind me here. I got my home treadmill. I use that when I'm too lazy to go to the gym, but I work out every day.
Yeah.
And even if workout, I mean, I use the term loosely.
Yeah.
I'll walk on the treadmill for 2 hours,
Yeah.
and but at least I'm doing something. I'm keeping the joints moving. I'm keeping the blood flowing, and I'm not into the crazy weightlifting and all that stuff. But I try to do as much as I can, as much as possible to there's a certain image that you sold when you were younger, and that's the image people remember you. That's what they want to see you as. Look at Mick Jagger. He's still slim. He still has the hair. He still moves on stage the way people remember. Yes, you see the wrinkles. He's aged, but you still get what you got, when he was in his 20s and he's in his 80s now. That to me is part of the job requirement. It's part of if you let yourself go and oh yeah, of course you lose hair follicles and sometimes genetically you kind of put on a little more than you want to keep. But for the most part, to me, that's part of the job requirement. You need to look the part, sound the part, feel the part, and fit the part. My good buddy Eric Singer told me, know the gig, keep the gig. So, it goes the same with something like Trans-Siberian Orchestra, which I'm going to my 18th year doing. 18 years is a reason for it because I know how to be in that gig. I know how to keep that gig in terms of not necessarily you don't kiss ass, but you basically do what is expected of you, and you don't complain, you don't bitch and moan, you don't do all the things that a lot of us musicians are known to do. And so for the
I
most
get
part, you
that,
just
but just kidding. Well, you brought up, and this is probably something I would ask later, but you brought up Mick Jagger. You just said you're turning 60. You don't look 60. How long do you think this is going to go on for you? How long do you want it to go on?
I wanted to go as long as I can stand and sing. That's how I see it. There are some pretty sad. I'm watching. I don't want to. I don't want to put anyone down. It's not my game. I'm not into that at all. But when I see current videos of like Frankie Valli, and I love
Oh my
Frankie Valli, the
God.
Four Seasons. I love that music. It's clear that the guy looks like he's in another planet right now because he's at that age where he shouldn't be. I don't know if he's being forced to do it. I don't know if he really wants to do it.
Yeah.
But there's a certain point where you kind of know when it's time to step down.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So
as far as I'm concerned, as long as the voice holds up, as long as the face isn't drooping on the floor, I want to keep doing it. It's just I love it. It's not work for me. This is my life's blood. This is something that I have to do to live and breathe and exist.
the guy who replaced you in Axel Rudi Pell, Johnny Gioeli, was on here, and he just said that when fans start telling him, he goes, when people like you, Anthony, start telling me that I can't do it anymore, then I'll know it's
Yeah.
time to quit. Anyway, so I
I
thought that,
agree, I love Johnny. He's a dear friend. I just saw him last month in Bulgaria. I saw him at a gig that he was doing while I was there doing my own stuff, and we have such a long time friendship together. One of the most real people out there in this industry, in this business. So, as many that we're probably going to bring up in this
yeah,
conversation.
yeah. Okay, so you're known for Yngwie is your first big project, but what bands or what were you doing musically before that experience happens?
Well, my first real original band was a band called Canaan.
Okay.
And I think I was 15 when I joined, or was 16. Maybe it was 16. And the only demo tape I had to that point to date, because I hadn't done any recording. I've been in a bunch of cover bands in school, etc., with my brother.
Yeah.
But the band Canaan, they were based out of Agora, California, which I live very close to. It's funny because when I was in the band, they were all from Agora, and there's a road called Canaan Road that's
Okay.
very famous for the area, and they named the band after that. Obviously, it's biblical, but the original spelling, the biblical spelling is different. Meaning, there wasn't a Christian band or anything like that. So when I joined the band, they were all original. They wrote their own songs, and when I stepped in, it was great to finally be part of something where I wasn't seen as a kid. Thank God I was 6'3". It kind of helped my demeanor that even though I was 16, I kind of looked older than I was. It's it's one of the things that even with the Yngwie thing, I thank God I had a larger than life presence
Yeah.
based on my age, because he didn't see me as a kid. Whereas if I were 5'4" and 18 or 16, to go, oh, he's just he's a toddler. So yeah, this was the band that I was able to create the first real demo tape, and that was the demo tape that I sent to Yngwie when I was auditioning for him. So it's amazing, and thankfully for that band having original music. That was the vehicle that got me to that next step, and obviously Yngwie opened up all those other doors that led to other things in my life.
And by the way, I have what I think is a pretty extensive history. If I fuck any of it up, let me know and we'll delete it out. But anyway,
I can correct you, and we move on. It's all right.
totally. Was there a band called Threshold
Yeah.
in '83?
Yes, that was a cover band. I had another one called Seducer, Threshold, Restless Breed. Restless Breed was original stuff. That was with the bass player from Canaan after Canaan split up just before Yngwie. So there was a little transitional thing there. That band didn't work out, and I ended up coming back. I was living in Colorado at the time, in Fort Collins, Colorado. And when that wasn't working out, nothing was really working out there. It's like, oh, well, tail between my legs, Mom, I'm coming home. Can you send me money for a Greyhound ticket? And literally, it was literally no, it was a week before I was leaving, or days before I was leaving. I got the actual call. Not the call, but I actually saw the ad on MTV where Yngwie left Alcatraz looking for a singer, wrote down the address. I didn't think anything of it. I loved his playing. I loved Alcatraz. I loved Steeler. I loved his playing. I would always, guys, you love Eddie Van Halen, you got to listen to this guy. I was always pimping him out.
Yeah.
And so when I heard he was looking for a singer, I was like, whoa, that's so cool. I didn't even think twice about that I could be the guy.
Yeah.
It was my friends that said, you got to send your tape. Are you kidding me? I was 16 when I sang on this thing. I'm 18 now. He's going to look and say, you got to be joking, right? And ironically, this, as the story goes, from what I heard, they talked me into sending my tape in, moved back to LA. Within 2 weeks, I got a call from them to meet Yngwie at the record plant. He was tracking more solos on the finishing up the first album.
Yep.
And I basically sat there for 25 minutes. He said, give me a few minutes. I'm going to finish this. I'm just sitting in there watching him play. I thought, worst case scenario, I get to meet the guy. I get to watch him play. This is awesome.
Yeah.
And one thing led to another. I did a quick little audition with him. I sang the song As Above, So Below, which I still have a cassette copy of that performance. It was kind of my audition. And then we spent the next 3 weeks just at his house, just doing demos on his 8-track. And within 3 weeks, I got the confirmation I was a singer. So later, once I got the gig, the manager told me, out of the box of tapes or boxes of tapes, whatever the situation was, they only played Yngwie 2 tapes. And I don't know if this is true, but this is what I was told. They took the worst one out of the box, played that one for him first, And it's like, what, are you kidding me? What are you doing? Is this a joke? Yeah, it's a joke. This is a guy we want you to hear. And that was my tape. So
Okay.
it's incredible that out of everything that was sent in, and I'm sure there were great singers. I'm sure there were even singers on there that became names and
Yeah.
moved on in life. I don't know, but I'm sure somebody that sent their stuff in. I'm sure there was a lot of good stuff in there, but for some reason, it was the song Canaan. We had a song called Canaan, the band Canaan. There were maybe some harmonic minor things that I was singing. That's what made him go, I think this guy knows, this guy would know what to do with my stuff in terms of, because everything he writes is very classically influenced, and as far as the chord progressions, changes, etc. He does a lot of Phrygians, a lot of harmonic minors, stuff I had to learn about later. And from that, I think that's where he heard I could fit in with his music.
So Rising Force is the first album in 1984. Was it all written by the time you were okay? Okay.
It was all written. He was actually he started recording that. I think it was at the end of '83 while he was still with Alcatraz.
Okay.
In early '84, I think that's where they did their Japanese tour. Whatever tour they did was the final blowout between he and Graham Bonnet.
Yeah.
There was a final blowout where he said, "I'm done. I'm out." And so I think by March or April of '83, he was out of Alcatraz, and then it was gung ho to finish this first solo album. The idea of getting me and getting a complete lineup in the band, because the drums were recorded by Barry Barlow from Jethro Tull. He brought in Jens Johansson, who was also in Rising Force later, but he brought him in just to do the keyboards for the album. Yngwie played the bass. He played all the bass and all the guitars.
Okay.
So from that, there was no real band. That wasn't supposed to be a band. It was supposed to be an instrumental solo album, 2 vocal songs. He was originally going to sing them, et cetera, et cetera. Now, the idea of building a new band, I was supposed to be the singer of the next album, where it was going to be a band album.
Okay.
Rising Force was would be now a band.
Yeah.
It was by chance that the day I was knighted or I was officiated as the front man. I'm in the band now.
Yeah.
I remember going to Yngwie's house. Marcel and the brothers, Johansson brothers, were there. They were drinking in the kitchen. They were, we always hung out at Yngwie's place. I never drank a drop of my life up to probably my 30s. So at that point, I was clean as a whistle. That term always bothers me, because look inside a whistle, it's not very clean. Anyway, trying to go back, they were just yammering in Swedish.
Okay.
I was there thinking I was going to celebrate. I'm inducted into the band. We're going to hang out, and I'll drink my Coke or whatever I was drinking that's non-alcoholic and just party with the guys in that sense.
Right.
But they were in the kitchen for like 90 minutes. I felt left out. I'm like, Jesus, what's going on here?
Yeah.
I'm in the band now, and I feel so excluded. And I found out later that they were basically not arguing, but they were trying to get it into Yngwie's head that I should be the singer on those 2 songs on the first album.
Okay.
And because he was supposed to record them that weekend, let's say it was a Thursday or Friday, I was officially in the band. Saturday and Sunday, he was in the studio to record the vocals.
Okay.
They knew they didn't want his voice on those songs. And again, I'm not putting Yngwie down, but clearly he's a ridiculous talent on the guitar.
Yeah.
As a singer, he should probably just leave it as backing vocals. That's how they saw it.
Right.
That's how they didn't want those vocals to be on there. Not that there wasn't any vested interest in it or not. They just wanted they wanted the singer that's going to be there for the future, maybe to at least give it a try. So that night, Yngwie walked over to me. He goes, "Listen, much to my chagrin," and he's fighting against it, these guys talked me into giving you a shot. So if you can take this tape, these are the 2 songs, come into the studio tomorrow, and we'll try on one. If it works, I'll put you on the second one.
Okay.
Great. So I went home, I crammed, I went into the studio ready to go, and we knocked out As Above, So Below was the first one. Oh, no, we did Now Your Ships Are Burned first.
Okay.
Which I remember, God, this is so low. This is so easy. Now your ships are burned. And it was so easy to sing. And then it made sense. Oh, that's why Yngwie was supposed to sing it, because he didn't need that high stuff. And then I'm thinking, what if he had sung an As Above, So Below? Because it's all up there. It's everything's, it starts here and it goes there.
Right.
So it was because I sounded, to his ears, I sounded good on As Above, So Below. He gave me the chance to do I mean, sorry, on Night Ships of Burn that I did As Above So Below, and
Okay.
that was it. I was in the studio the first weekend of September, and within 2 months the album came out. It came out in the I think it was I think it came out in late November, sometime in November of '84. So it literally he was on mixing by the time I did those vocals. They started mixing like that week, like
Oh,
literally days after I did my vocals. They mixed it, it was done, and it was out already. Because again, going back, he was only originally on Polydor Records in Japan.
yeah.
While he was at Alcatraz, they signed him for a solo deal to release it in Japan only. Now get this. While we're recording, we're doing pre-production, and we already started pre-production and doing the rehearsals for Marching Out, and then started recording it. They said, okay, Marching Out is going to be the first official worldwide band album.
Right.
This one will stay in the can. It'll stay kind of under the radar in Japan, and then this one will be the worldwide release. So we're cruising along. We get Marching Out. It's done, mixed by, I think, early January. It was done and ready to go. I think they planned on putting it out a couple months later, maybe in April maximum, because we had a world tour already starting to be booked.
Yeah.
And of course, Hold the Phone, Yngwie's first album, got nominated for a Grammy. So all of a sudden, Marching Out had to be put on hold, because not only did that first album sell, it sold something like 10,000 copies in the US on a weekend on Japanese import. Polydor never saw anything like that ever.
Yeah.
They've always seen Japanese import or whatever. They'll sell a few hundred copies just because there's always a bonus track. There's always an incentive. But when they sold 10,000, they said, whoa, 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 we are onto something here. Polygram in the US now wanted to get involved, and Polydor around the world wanted to get involved to release this thing worldwide, which meant Marching Out had to be held on, and they initially released it in August of '85. So that one was in the can almost a year from the time that we finished recording and mixing it, and I was already out of the band before they released Marching Out.
What, like when you're waiting, do they put you on a salary or something while you're waiting to tour and to put out the album, or?
Not while I was waiting, but when we were touring, I was put on a salary.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't remember if I was put on any kind of retainer, but the salary, and I gotta be honest, I'm not giving away anything that's like mind-boggling. I can't believe they paid you so little. Back then, it seemed like a lot of money. I was a roommate. I had roommates, and it was fine for me. $500 a week plus per diem.
Sure.
It was a little money when you look at the long scope of it now.
Yeah.
But for that time, for being 18 years old and 19 years old, I didn't care. All I cared was, I got a break. I'm singing with Yngwie. I think is amazing, and this is going to start escalating me. If the money's not there now, it'll eventually come. If it comes, I don't care. I just want to be a rock star. I want to go on the road. I want to sing. So the problems. I'm just going to cut you off there, because I got to tell you that's one of the reasons I left the band. And again, it's not Yngwie's fault. It was, whether it's management's fault, whether accounting's fault, whatever. There were so many weeks we weren't paid on time, and then it got to the point where we're begging for the money that we were supposed to have already earned, but we look ungrateful because all we're talking about is money. So it got to the point where I don't want to deal with things like that. This is not how I envisioned it was going to be. I've been in cover bands. I've been in other bands like Canaan, where it was a brotherhood. Everything was shared, and it was a democracy. Now I'm in something thinking this is the big time. It's going to be even that and more, but it was absolutely the opposite.
Yeah.
There was no, Yngwie's name was the marquee, as the marquee artist, which we all expected and knew. We knew our place in the band, but we also didn't think that we were going to be treated and looked upon as kind of the help. It was kind of a hired gun situation at the time. It wasn't presented that way. We didn't feel it was going to be that way. And when it started becoming more and more that way, that's when I'm like, yeah, you know what? I can work for anybody at any time. I want to be in a situation where I'm working with people, not working for people. That was one of the reasons why I left. And I got offered while we were doing the first tour, the first US tour, I got offered to sing with Rudy Sarzo and Tommy Aldridge, who recently left Ozzy, and became a band called Driver eventually. And
I'm going to get into that, but like when you're recording Marching Out, the first album it's going to be, this is the band project.
Yeah.
Like, does it feel that way? Like,
Absolutely.
when you're recording that? It feels that way?
Absolutely. We had a lot of great times. We had a lot of laughs, a lot of fun recording and rehearsing, and even doing pre-production for it. Unfortunately, it's kind of a tainted memory that Yngwie's now saying he wrote everything, and how could you write everything when you look at the label and you see "Don't Let It In," I'm on the run again. I'll See the Light Tonight, and what's the other one? There was four. Don't Let It In, On the Run Again, I'll See the Light Tonight, and Caught in the Middle.
Okay.
You read on the label, it says written by Soto and Malmsteen.
Yeah.
Because that's what happened.
Yeah.
And in fact, a song like Don't Let It In, I wrote pretty much all the words, almost all the words, and I'll See the Light Tonight. But because Yngwie contributed a few inserts here and there, a few changes,
yeah,
I had to split the publishing with him 50-50 on the lyrics. On the music, it's 100% him.
Yeah, of course.
But
of course.
He forgets that there was a collaboration. There was the song On the Run Again. I own 100% of the words on that one. Because I got nothing for this. You can just put whatever you want, do whatever you want on it. So I wrote the lyric based on Fugitive, On the Run Again kind of thing. I was very inexperienced in songwriting, so I kept it pretty simple. Sure. But yeah, it was great because we were collaborating at that time.
But you left before the Marching Out tour, and you said that it had been
before the album came out.
It had been.
I did the full tour.
Yeah. Right. It had been delayed, and
right.
the video comes out for "I'll See the Light Tonight," and it's your voice, but Mark Bowles is on the video. I mean, and I know you've told this before, but could you kind of how does that?
Yeah. Well, I feel really bad for Mark because it happened to him twice with Yngwie. It happened to him again when I provided vocals for the Inspiration album. It was a covers album that Yngwie did, and I did 4 songs on there. "Carry On Wayward Son" was one they wanted to release as a single. Mark was his touring singer again, so once again he was in a video with my voice. But on the first one, again, from what I've heard, I don't know if it's true, but this is what I was told from within the band, within the context of management, whatever. I was told that when Mark got the gig, they promised him, "Listen, we're in a deadline. We got to get the video shot. We got to get this done. Just let's get the visuals done. We're going to get you back into the studio before the tour starts, and we're going to cut your voice on there, and then we're going to line it up with the video."
Yeah.
Whether or not that happened, whether or not it was promised, whether or not they did it didn't work, or they didn't have the time, I don't know. But clearly they ended up using the footage of him miming to my voice just to get the video done. And I felt bad for him because I would hate that. It's one thing, like when I did it for Rockstar, I did it for a movie called Rich Girl, where I provide the vocals for the movie, and for an actor to come in and portray the vocals. But Mark is a great singer, qualified singer, and for his voice not to be on there and somebody else's voice is coming out of his visual, it was kind of strange for both of us, actually.
Did Yngwie talk to you when you were leaving? Did he try to get you to stay? Like, hey, we'll fix the pay issues and all that, or what happened? Did you have a big conversation? Or
you're the first one that's actually ever asked me that. It's funny because I've actually offered the answer to that without being asked. He didn't fight for me. I told him I got this other offer and I wanted to move on. It was okay. It was a quick, just like, you want to go, cut the cord kind of thing. And I remember the last week of the tour, and because by then they'd already knew Mark Bowles was going to be the singer. I remember listening to the demo, like, man, this guy's great. Who is this? And they were kind of keeping it on the wraps. They didn't want me to be, I don't know if they wanted to try to hide it based on that I would be bummed or angry or whatever, that was my predecessor.
Yeah.
But I remember when I finally heard that's going to be the guy, I'm like, man, that guy's amazing. Really, really great singer.
Yeah.
What was the question?
Did Yngwie trying to fight for you?
Oh, yeah. So yeah,
to...
I finally, the last couple gigs, I finally went to him and I said, I asked him, I go, why didn't you fight for me? Why didn't you say, I really want you to stay, and I think we could do things, we can do better things in the future, or change the conditions, whatever's bothering, whatever.
Yeah.
And his simple answer, always cool as a cucumber, from day one to day now, he said, I don't want anybody in my band that doesn't want to be in my band.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, fair enough. I can't argue with that.
Oh, okay. And so You do go back on the road with him in 86. Bowles was singing in the band. He had replaced you, and something happens, and you got to finish the tour. Number one, I mean, did they beg and freaking please come? I mean, or and was that awkward? And I'll stop now. Like, how did that situation come about?
Wasn't a beg or please. It was again, I had a pretty decent relationship with Andy Truman, who was his manager at the time, and Mark sang on the Trilogy record. He did the whole marching out tour, which is funny to this day. Whenever I post something or celebrating an anniversary of those first two albums, I'll constantly get people say, "Oh, I saw you guys. You were great. You were opening for AC/DC." Nope, wasn't me. "Oh, I
Right,
saw you guys when you opened up for Dio." Never opened up for Dio in my life. Wasn't me.
right,
How do you confuse a 6'3" Puerto Rican guy to Mark Bowles, who's a tad shorter than me and is a white guy? Unless you had like the nosebleed seats and you just
right.
don't remember the faces, but
You don't look like Mark Bowles at all.
exactly. So it makes me laugh every time. It's like, please do your homework. You
Right.
didn't see me singing opening for AC/DC because I've never been on the stage that AC/DC's been on at the same time. So yeah, he did the marching out tour because he joined the band in August. Or no, his first show was in August of '85. The first show he did with Yngwie, I did all the small clubs and all the sweat boxes and all that stuff. His first gig with Yngwie was Day on the Green in San Francisco with Metallica, Scorpions,
Right.
Y&T was on the bill. I
Yeah.
was like, oh my god, why couldn't I be on that? Just that one gig.
Right. Right.
So
Right.
anyways, that was his first gig. So yeah, he did the whole marching out tour with AC/DC and Dio, and then they recorded Trilogy. And I believe the first drop of the tour, they were supposed to be opening for Emerson, Lake and Powell, not Palmer. The EOP, they had Cozy Powell.
Yep.
So they were the support band, and for one reason or another, they either got booted or they wanted to leave that tour, and they got the Triumph tour. And
Okay.
so just as they were starting the Triumph tour, whatever was happening between Yngwie internally with Yngwie and Mark, before they let him go, they reached out to me. Andy Truman said, "Hey, listen, this is happening. There's nobody else we can think of that can just step in and just dive right in and do it without weeks and weeks of rehearsal and preparation. Tell us what we need to do to make this happen." And it was cut and simple. This time I wanted a contract. I wanted to make sure. I said specifically, I had a manager at the time. Specifically, if the check for that week doesn't clear, I don't go on stage. And there
Right.
was only one time it almost didn't happen, and I called their bluff. They said, "Don't worry, we'll get it sorted by the end of the show." I said, "I'm sitting right here until I hear that it's cleared."
Okay.
And it's that for how they did it. They pulled it off. The money got into the account, and we finished that show that night. And again, I wasn't doing it to be difficult.
Oh,
I needed some kind of leverage. I needed the respect and the leverage that I didn't have before.
yeah. Yeah. So was there any attempt to like, okay, we got Jeff back in. Let's keep him around, or was it known that it was going to be that tour and that was it?
In the beginning, it seemed like it was going to be a continuation.
Okay.
By the end of that run, I kind of knew I didn't want to continue. I already had too many flashbacks, I guess, PTSD on the first
Yeah.
tour that made me realize, yeah, this is not something I
Right.
want to continue. And even more so then, it was all about Yngwie. It was no chance that you were gonna. And again, it's a great situation as a touring musician, as somebody who really likes that kind of music and somebody who really wants to be part of that. It's
Yeah.
a great gig. But if you're looking for something that to catapult you into other levels or stratospheres, it's absolutely not going to happen.
Yeah.
And I equate it to even like my time with TSO. Trans-Siberian Orchestra is a well-oiled machine. And it was there, it was that before I joined, and it will continue being that without me.
Yeah.
So I'm part of the cogs and the wheels that make that thing spin, but I'm not the reason why it's spinning. Why
Right.
and that's what Yngwie's situation was like. He
Right.
doesn't need me to make it work. If I want to be there, then he wants me there. If I don't want to be there, he doesn't want me there. And that was basically it.
I
So
promise.
by eight, my last shows were in January '87. We did a couple of weeks with Iron Maiden on their Somewhere in Time tour, and we all went home, and I didn't hear from anybody for a while, and then I started hearing murmurs that they were looking at somebody else, and then Yngwie had that big car accident that put him out for probably about a year.
Yeah.
But also by then they were talking to Joel and Turner, because I think Joe was already part of that when I think Joe was part of the band when that accident happened.
Okay. I promise I'm not going for clickbait, but Yngwie's got this reputation, as being difficult to deal with. And I mean, you haven't hinted at it yet. It seemed like the problem, but was it okay working with him, or did you experience like, holy shit, like, be careful?
Again, the word "work with" didn't exist.
Right.
It kind of did when we were the early, the startup of Marching Out and all that. It kind of existed then, but "work for" was the more of the term. That's more of the phrase that you had to get used to, and that's what I use today. I worked for Yngwie, so if working for somebody becomes difficult, that's when you know it's time to move on.
Okay.
And again, without putting, there's enough negativity that people talk about him that he's even put out himself in terms of how people perceive him. But the bottom line is, one of the reasons why Yngwie and I were friends for as long as we were, until whatever wall became between us, we were friends because I understood who he was and what he was about. I knew his passion for his music. I knew his passion for his art and his craft. I knew his own take on life. When you know all of this and you accept it, you then, again, you choose, do I want to hang out with somebody who might not be taken the way that you're hoping he's going to take you, or do you not want to? So you make that decision. You make that choice. I made the decision. I want to continue being in his life and be his friend, because I understand him. I understand where his rants come from. I understand where his tirades came from. Most of it, and I'm going to say the biggest percentage of it, comes from the fact that he's very, very headstrong on what he wants and what he is. Somebody comes along and tries to change it, alter it, be a part of it, it's going to be like, who the hell are you, kind of thing. So naturally, he's gonna put his foot down and said, no, it's all about me. It's all about how I do it. I'm the end all be all when it comes to me and my music and my career. Again, that was fine with me. So I couldn't really say anything negative or bad about him, because I understood where he was coming from. Somebody on the outside, like, oh, what an asshole. Oh, what a ego. And you can perceive it as that, but it all comes down to what he was trying to put across in his music and his craft and his art and his talents. It all had to do with, I have to be this way so people understand that nobody's going to penetrate this bubble.
If you got a call from him now and he was like, shit, man, let's go back and do it one more time, would you ever be open to that?
I've said it time and again. Yes.
Okay.
I've said it time and again. The thing is, when I got this heavy metal award thing, it was a few years ago, at the NAMM show. It was presented. There was a big heavy metal awards presentation that was going on, and I had to make a speech. I was being given this lifetime achievement thing for my involvement in the business and in this genre. And I started it, or no, I ended it with, it was basically my ode to Yngwie. It was the fact that I was a kid. I was an 18-year-old kid with a 16-year-old singer demo that I turned in. He saw whatever he saw, gave me the opportunity to become who I am and what I actually eventually became. Without that, those are my beginnings. So I owe everything to Yngwie, for good or bad, however, for better or worse, however you slice it. That guy gave me my first shot. He was one of the ones that didn't see that I was brown-skinned Puerto Rican guy. I wasn't the typical blue-eyed, blonde guy that everybody was looking for as their frontman during that time. I was a kind of a shaggy, curly-head Puerto Rican kid. He didn't see any of that. He just saw the voice, he saw the talent and the personality that would fit in for what he was doing, and he gave me a chance. And I will never forget that, and I never, ever take it for granted. That's the beginning. That's something I treasure and I hold dear to my heart until the day I die. And I have to thank Yngwie for that.
Okay, in 85, and you mentioned it earlier, Rudy Sarzo, Tommy Aldridge, have been playing with Ozzy, and they asked you to come join this project. And I think Mark St. John was the original guitar player?
When I joined, he was the guitar player then. By the time I finished the tour, the Yngwie tour, actually going back on that was the last run before I actually left the band.
Yep.
Mark was out, and Kurt James was in. I don't know if you know who Kurt James is.
I
Kurt was the one that replaced Yngwie in Steeler.
That's right.
And he was a shredder, kind of like that. He could actually play that Yngwie stuff, but he had a different writing level. The kind of stuff he wrote was absolutely within my wheelhouse. I loved the songs that he brought to the table for that situation. So when Mark was out and he was in, I was like, oh, these songs are great. They were so easy to write to, and we were putting them together. But after a few rehearsals, they thought personality wise that Kurt wasn't the guy for this band. And I remember distinctly saying, well, you know who's a really good looking guy and he's a great guitar player and is a great guy is Craig Goldie. Yeah, but he's in Jafria. I'm like, I think maybe I can talk him out of Jafria into joining us. And that's what I did. And it's funny because we're talking about the Greg Jafria interview you did. Yep. And I think I actually brought it up to Greg recently because I've collaborated with him on some of the new stuff that he's working on.
Yeah.
And I think I finally admitted to him, I go, I don't think you know this, but I was the reason why Craig left the band. He goes, that's all right, Jeff. You know, things happen for a reason. Greg is he's such a doesn't hold grudges kind of guy. Totally. So whatever happened. So yeah, I got Goldie to leave Jafria. He joined us, and then all of a sudden, the cool tunes that we were writing with Kurt, he took back with him. We had to start again, and now Craig was bringing the ideas in because Tommy and Rudy at that time were not writers. They depended on their singer and their guitar player to basically craft the songs. So the sound of the band changed so many times along the way because what they were going for just musically was going in so many directions. There were other guitar players and other singers after both of us.
Yeah.
That until they eventually got Rob Rock and Tony McAlpine and released the Project Mars. But the stuff that Craig brought in, God rest his soul. God bless this man. I love him to death. He's talented beyond words. I wasn't into the stuff that he brought to the table. To me, it didn't sound like the reasons why I said yes to joining this situation. And you could hear it when I was writing stuff. It was like, oh, this feels unnatural. And then it was my time to get the axe. When the guys heard what I was contributing to those songs, it was a sit down of like, we don't think it's a match made in heaven anymore. We're going to find another singer that fits this vibe a little more. I'm going to say it was certainly heading more towards a Blackmore-ish, Dio, Rainbow-ish kind of thing, which I love Rainbow, but I didn't want to be Rainbow. Yeah. And that's where the songs sounded like they were heading towards. And I just thought, this is not working for me. It's not for me. So I probably would have left if they didn't can me anyways. And we just went our separate ways that way. And then Craig didn't last long either. It was one of those situations where they knew they wanted to continue together. They had the momentum from Ozzy, but because they didn't have the songs, they didn't have the set record deal. They went to different management along the way. It was kind of a musical chairs situation for a lot of people.
What happened with Mark St. John?
I don't remember. I don't recall what the reasons were. I don't know if it was a health thing at that time. I think White Tiger had already been released. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
So because that was 85. Yeah. So I don't know if White Tiger happened that year when he wasn't doing the Tommy Rudy thing, but I guess it just, while I was on tour, it fell apart. When I came home, we had a different guitar player.
Well, speaking of Mark St. John coming from Kiss, did you sing on some Vinnie Vincent demos in '86?
I can clarify that as well.
Okay.
If you can look on YouTube, you put Jeff Scott Soto and Vinnie Vincent, you're going to find some songs that have zero to do with hard rock or melodic rock or heavy metal. Zero. Okay. They are fluffy pop synth songs. You could turn them into rock songs. Yeah. You could turn them into anything.
Okay.
But they were specifically made for a publishing company. Vinny was signed to a publishing company. They gave him X amount of dollars per year to turn in X amount of songs.
Okay.
I eventually got a publishing deal, and I didn't even know what it was when I got signed. I remember getting the advance, and then a year later going, Jeff, you need to start turning in songs. For who? For what? I was so green. I say this all the time, and I'll say it at the end of this interview. I say it every time somebody asks me, do you have any advice for young musicians? Learn the business. Yeah. If you don't learn the business, you get the shaft.
Yeah.
You don't know anything. You just trust everybody. You're going to get the shaft.
Sure.
So I didn't know what a publishing deal was. All I know is I was singing. We were doing the Cooney record, and I guess Dana Strum, who produced the Cooney record, he was doing both the Vinnie Vincent Invasion, the second album, at the same time that they were doing the Cooney record. Same studio. He would do Vinnie during the day, Vinnie would go home, and then Cooney at night.
Yeah.
So it was the same studio, same room, just changed the reels, and Dana would put on different hats.
Okay.
And so I guess maybe Dana played some stuff to Vinnie. Vinnie loved my voice. He loved that I had the range. I had the high range back then. It was endless.
Yeah.
But the one thing Vinnie heard, and we haven't even talked about my humble beginnings, I wasn't a rock singer. And he knew that immediately when he heard my voice. I wasn't a rock singer when I started in this business. I became a rock singer because I finally discovered the rock that I liked, that I knew would work for my ears and my voice. But back in the day, I only listened to Sam Cooke, Motown, Temptations, Jackson 5. It was Earth, Wind, and Fire. It was only R&B, soul, funk, black music. That's all I
Really?
listened to growing up.
Okay.
The pop music I listened to, the Archies and the Osmonds, it was Bee Gees. It was so
Yeah.
pop. You couldn't get more pop. But guess what? Vinny heard that in my voice, even while I was doing the Cooney record. And he pulled me inside and he said, I've got these songs that I have to submit to a publishing company. They are not rock at all, but your voice will work perfectly for them. Because Vinny, at the time, he was writing for Michael Bolton. He was writing for other bands, other artists. And that was what his deal was contingent on.
Yeah.
You submit 40, 50 songs, and it's up to the publishing company to find artists to place them.
Right.
So those songs, if you find online, you go, whoa, that doesn't sound like Jeff. Doesn't sound like something Jeff and Vinny would do, because they weren't meant to be those kinds of songs. And it was for the longest time when people would confuse those songs as a new project with Jeff and Vinny. It's like, whoa, this is kind of different for Vinny, and it's not rock, because it was never meant to be that. They were specifically for his publishing company. I think we did 4 or 5 songs total.
Well, these previous bands that you were in before Yngwie, what kind of music were you playing in those? Like when you were doing cover, was it rock?
Oh, yeah.
Was it?
When I was 16, by the time I was 16, I was in rock cover bands and doing rock. Yeah, Kanan was a rock band. I'm talking about until I was about 14. About 13 or 14 is when I finally discovered Journey.
Okay.
I always Queen was kind of in the back of my head, because they weren't, again, your traditional rock band, heavy blah 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 blah. It wasn't like Kiss and Maiden and Priest. They were more all over the map musically, which was another thing that really that just got into my blood. I hate being pigeonholed. I hate being someone, stay in your lane, put the blinders on. I can't stand that. And we can discuss that. It's one of the reasons why I've done as much as I've done. I love diversity, and I wanted to show diversity.
Right.
Freddie Mercury's the most diverse singer on the planet.
Yeah.
I wanted to be like Freddie. That was my aspiration. So it took me a minute to find that, to finally realize that I liked rock, because when all my friends were listening to Kiss and Ted Nugent and Cheap Trick, I thought it was noise. To me, it just sounded like white noise. It's like, this is awful. Until Toto, until Journey came, until even Foreigner came around.
Yeah.
You had these bluesy R&B singers sing it with hard rock guitars under them. Mm-hmm. The first time I heard Hold the Line, or I'll Supply the Love, or Bobby Kimball was my hero, because he had the blackest voice for a white guy. He had so much soul, so much of that inflection. It's like, oh my God, I could listen to this guy sing for days. But all of a sudden, it's underneath is Luke's guitar, heavy guitars. Yeah. Same with Journey. You had this guy it was a tenor version of Sam Cooke. Yeah. But you had those heavy guitars from Neil Schon. That's when rock finally opened up to me. And then slowly the Van Halens and the Cheap Tricks, and it all started making sense. And then Dickinson, and then Dio. And by the time I was 16, I loved it all. But when I was with Yngwie, I was only 2 or 3 years into liking rock. It was kind of strange.
I love Toto, but is there anybody who didn't look less like a rock star than Bobby Kimball? Like, but
that's amazing. Yeah. No, it was one of those things. Even obviously, when the more successful they got, obviously the label said, "Hey, let's put somebody in to kind of dress them up and put different clothing and hairstyles." And yeah, and that first album, Bobby was anti-rock star.
Totally.
But God bless him. What a voice.
Totally. You mentioned Cooney, And he's a Japanese guitarist. They put out the album Looking for Action in '88. So that's another. I'll kind of stop there and what's your role with that? Was it again? Are you just coming in as a session player, or what's going on with that?
Yeah, in '87, I got a call from I think it was from Andy Truman, Yngwie's manager. Obviously, I wasn't with Yngwie anymore. He was already moving forward with Jolene by then, by '87, and he said he and Wendy Dio were working with this Japanese guitar player named Cooney. I'm trying to think. Cooney had released his first album, also on Polydor, same as what Yngwie was, but the Japanese version of Polydor. And yeah, there were a lot of talk, a lot of words of what it was going to be, what it was going to turn into. Unfortunately, it only remained something released in Japan. It was pretty contained.
Yeah.
It was another marquee artist where I was singing for another guitar player where he was the only focal point of the situation, but I wasn't treated that way. It wasn't the same treatment as with Yngwie. So even though I was singing for somebody else, I was singing with somebody else. It was he treated me as an equal, from the writing to the on stage. Everything was equal, but that also bothered me because I'm doing everything for his benefit, and I'm not really getting my recognition, my notoriety from it.
Right.
All I kept thinking is, because of Yngwie, I started getting all these offers. Alex Massey, eventually Axel Rudi Pell, all these guitar players that wanted a singer in a Michael Schenker situation where you're just going to be the singer for that name, for that figure.
Yeah.
And I got to that point. By the time I got to '88, '89, I said, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to be in a band where it's a band name. It's nobody's name that's a marquee name.
Yeah.
So we can all be equally important in that situation, or equally as involved. And that's what eventually happened when I joined the band Eyes, which at the time was called LA Rocks.
Well, going back, did Vinnie, was there any shot at him trying to get you to join the Vinnie Vincent invasion?
Later there was, after the All Systems Go album was out, after they went their separate ways, and Dana and Mark started Slaughter. Vinnie brought me in the studio once again. I don't remember if it was for lead vocals or just backing vocals, but I remember singing for him in that, and he presented the idea that he wanted me to do something with him further. But again, by then I was so checked out of singing for a name, unless it was a band name and we were all seen as equal partners or equal members of the band.
Sure.
Okay. And I saw your Mick Sweeta interview, and it's exactly that. I never knew until I saw that interview that those guys were kind of hired guns. He was brought in after the songs were written and all that. Right. And they were basically just pretty boys' faces as a vehicle for Carmine to have this new band called King Cobra.
Right.
So, and by the way, one of my favorite records of all time, if you put that in my top 20 of hard rock albums, it's absolutely in that category. I love that record to death. I love Mark Free's voice. I love everything about that record. So yeah, I would have turned it down anyway, and I did turn it. I don't think it came to turning it down, but when he spoke about it, I think maybe he saw my less than enthusiastic reply of, okay, yeah, let me know. I wasn't really into doing anything further as the singer for a guitar player.
Are you getting frustrated in these years? And
yeah,
you have such a super positive attitude, but are you at this point going, geez, like, where is my thing?
The super positive attitude comes from getting older, because it wasn't this super positive when I was into my 20s and 30s. I'm like, oh, I'm better than this, and why I can do that? Why that person gets the, of course I was bitter. I was like, geez, when is it my turn?
Yeah.
And even to this day, I still never got that turn. As much as I've done, fronting Journey, fronting Sons of Apollo, I'm still, for all intents and purposes, I'm still struggling, a struggling artist. I never became a household name. I didn't have the overnight success. I didn't have the one-hit wonder. I just kind of had the trickle effect career, where it's just kind of going like this, up and down, but I never had that. But I also never had that.
Right. And it pains me, because I love so much of what you're like, why doesn't everybody know about Talisman? Or anyway,
that's probably that Talisman, and we're going to get into Talisman, but I think even if you want to start off with Talisman right now, that's one I absolutely 1000% can say there's no justice in the world, because that band had it all. We
Totally.
had the songs, we had the vibe, everything was there, and we just never. It was one of those day late, dollar short situations where maybe what we were doing was just we missed the mark. Even the first album, it sounded too much like the Whitesnake Europe Dokken kind of thing, but it was released in 1989, 90, or whatever it was.
90.
And by then, that's when the whole hair metal thing was kind of subsiding and the whole grunge thing was coming in. So we missed our mark.
I say this about Talisman. I feel the same way about Talisman that I feel about Hardline. Hardline, if that comes out in 87, 88, well, I feel the same way about Talisman. It was just a little bit poppier
Yeah.
on the rock side, and by 90, it was moving towards, the gritty,
Yeah.
dirty, and then into anyway, I'll stop there, but I want to get into Talisman. I just this Christ the Conqueror, and I know a little bit
Great.
about that. But with Jerry Only from the Misfits,
And Doyle, his brother,
Jerry
yeah.
Doyle from the Misfits, and I think Snake Sabo contributed to that. Like played guitar.
I think he
guitar.
did. I think he's on a track or two.
Right.
He was never in the band at that time. It was a three piece. It was Jerry and it was Mo and Doyle, and they had a drummer. I forget his name, but I distinctly, it was 88, because I remember my son was just a baby.
Yeah.
And I got a call from somebody in the business that she was always putting bands and faces and heads together I want to work with this artist. Oh, I know this person. And she was basically bringing people together. I got a call from her saying, hey, do you know who the Misfits are? I go, I've heard of them. I know nothing about them or their music. Okay. Gave me the backstory. They want to do this, but they want to do something with the opposite of what the Misfits were about, which was doom and gloom and dark and all that kind of stuff. They wanted to do something that's even more Christian oriented.
Yeah.
That's why even the name Christ is respelled. Phonetically, it sounds the same, but it's spelled differently.
Yeah.
But they wanted something that was a little more positive, but the music was still energetic and heavy. When I heard the songs, at first they were Jerry singing, and I go, this is not for me at all. But when I saw what they were offering me to sing on the demos, I said, hell yeah. They flew me out to New York. I spent a few weeks with them, and they were great. To this day, I had the best time. I talk only great memories with those guys.
Yeah.
They made me feel so welcome, so at home, like family. And to this day, they still do. I saw Doyle a few years ago after I had not seen him for many years.
Yeah.
And it was just like the last time we saw each other.
Yeah.
Really, really good guys. But musically, it wasn't for me. And when we finished the record, I didn't realize that was their intention in getting me to sing on. It's like, let's get Jeff to sing on it first, and then let's entice him to be in the band. They couldn't entice me enough to follow through with it. And eventually they released it as an EP. Other copies or cassette versions of the full songs for the full album eventually got out there, but it just wasn't for me. God bless them, because I love them to death. Just musically, it wasn't what I was looking for at that time.
Did you have a manager at this time, like somebody? Okay, I didn't know, maybe somebody.
I think that's another one of my downfalls, is I never really had anybody kind of fighting for me and kind of keeping me in line, but also making sure that I was able to pay my bills. Sure. So I was a soldier of fortune for the most part. I needed to do what I needed to do to make a living. Yeah. And that brings us to Talisman. Exactly that. Because with Eyes, I was basically on retainer.
Okay.
I signed a contract with them. We made a full album. It was all self-financed by the drummer and his family. And I signed an agreement with them that they'll keep me on retainer until a certain date. I gave them 3 months to find a deal. If we couldn't get a record deal, then I'm free and I'm going to move on. Okay. But I wasn't really committing myself to that band as a band member at that time. Okay. I wasn't really musically. It was great because finally I was able to get out of that axe slinger singer kind of guy. Yeah. I was able to do more of where I came from, more of the pop, more of the R&B, more of this soulful A&R kind of thing. It was great. Yeah. But I also thought when I jam with other musicians who are at the level and caliber of the Yngwie days, yeah, that's the level of musicians I want to be with. And those guys weren't that. Not that they were bad musicians, they just weren't that. I want to be surrounded by virtuosos. That
Yeah.
was because that's how it started. And in my head, I needed to be with people who were just at a level that you couldn't, you couldn't
Yeah.
even explain. So I was hesitant in giving them full commitment. But
Yeah.
when they were paying me, okay, I can pay my rent. I have a newborn son.
Yeah.
I can take care of my life while I'm waiting for them to get a deal. And then when I saw, oh, there's no deal happening, I guess I better start packing my bags and getting ready for the next thing. They gave me an extension. I'm like, oh, geez, okay, all right, okay, I'll hang on another month. And then they finally got the deal that eventually became the Curb Records, which Curb Records was a country label, and they were looking to expand in different genres. We were the guinea pigs and
Yeah.
as being their first rock band, and they failed miserably, sadly.
That first album, it wasn't that first album produced by Ron Nevison?
No. We produced it. It was Spencer Proffer because
Hell?
Pasha Records they set a deal with Curb Records,
Okay.
and they became a production company for Curb Records,
Okay.
but they also got all the money. When we got whatever advance was for the first Eyes record, it went straight into Spencer Proffer's pocket.
Oh.
And he said, guys, I have a great studio, Quiet Riot recorded here, Guns N' Roses, Wasp, everybody's in here. We're locking it out. Do your stuff. When it's done, you get a great studio at your disposal, but you get no money, you get no advance. And at that point, I'm like, okay, yes, I signed with this band because I was on retainer, but when that retainer dried up and there was no other money coming in, I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to do? I got to get a job while I'm recording an album. It's supposed to be a rock star. This is supposed to be my living.
Yeah.
And just out of the blue, I got a call from Marcel Jacob.
Okay.
Hadn't spoken to him in years, and he left Yngwie, I think, in '87. I left in '86. No, I'm sorry. He left in '86 because when I came back to Yngwie, Wally Boss was on bass.
Okay.
So he was with John Norum, who left Europe at that time, and he co-wrote all the songs on John Norum's first solo album,
Right.
the No Control album.
Oh yeah.
And Total Control or No Control, something like that.
One of those two. Shit.
Yeah. And you can hear, if you listen to that album now, you can totally hear the Talisman influence because that's all Marcel.
Yeah.
Marcel was part of Europe even back in the band when I think they were called Power or something like that. It was a different band before they were Europe.
Yep.
So he's been involved with them and that style and that vibe for the longest time. So he had that in him to write that kind of style. So that's why he hooked up with Norum when he left Yngwie. He went back to Sweden. For the second album, John and him had a little falling out. They already started the pre-production. Marcel was again co-writing or writing all the songs. Then all of a sudden they had a spat. Marcel left, took his songs with him. I got the call. Hey, I got these songs. I got a small indie label in Sweden. If we're lucky, people in Stockholm will know this record exists. It's a small deal. But I can give you X amount. And I really, really needed the money at that time. Of course, I
still in Eyes
I was in Eyes. We were finishing the album with Eyes. And I remember going to Spencer Proffer, and I was on my hands and knees saying, man, I am dead broke. I don't have a pot to piss in. I need to feed my son. I need to pay my rent. They're offering me this. I can guarantee you, I can promise you, this album is not going to see the light of day outside of Sweden, maybe even outside of Stockholm. It's just a quick little session for me. I can knock it out. I can pay my bills, and I can be okay while we're waiting for the Eyes album to be released. Please, please, please let me do it, because I was lock, stock, and barrel with him. At first, he said no. And when I of course, I brought the grief of my son. You bring in a baby into the picture. It's like,
Yeah.
as long as you can verify and guarantee it's not going to be any kind of hindrance on what we're doing here,
Yeah.
go do the record.
Okay.
So thank God I got that okay, because I was able to do that record not only to survive on, but that became something that was one of the most important bands to me in my life to this day. The career, albums, everything about Talisman to me is so important that I now vow, without having Marcel around living and breathing, that I will carry that torch as far as I can into the future. I love that album. I love that band. I love everything we did together. So it was a kind of a blessing in disguise. And I guess I broke my promise because Talisman became worldwide.
Yeah. Talisman ended up becoming something, and Eyes had calling all girls got some.
Yeah,
So was
we
there?
we 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 had a little movement here and there, little legs here and there, but it wasn't enough to sustain.
Yeah.
Again, where I'll blame the label. They were responsible for us not being able to go on the road because I brought two tours to the table. There are other ones that are being offered. That's not the right demographic. We got a tour offer to open up for Dokken. They didn't want to pay the tour support.
Okay.
And guess who got the tour? Your buddy Gus that you just
Oh no
you just
shit.
interviewed. It was Trickster. They were
Oh
the
shit.
new up and coming guys. They
Yeah.
got the tour.
Yeah.
Next thing, I've been very good friends with Stripers since 1985.
Yeah.
Those are my boys. Those are my brothers.
Yeah.
I got another. They came to me, hey, maybe your band Eyes want to do a joint venture together and tour with Striper. Oh my God, it'd be awesome. Nah, it's the wrong demographic. You're not a Christian band. I'm like, no, it's not what it's about.
No.
Striper, they can play with Black Sabbath. It's not about that. It's
Yeah.
about the music.
Yeah.
And so once again, they said no. And guess who got the tour? Trickster.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Shit.
So Trickster were a little thorn on my side. I love those guys. Like, you guys are awesome. You're kids.
They
God
are.
damn it, you're taking all my gigs.
Okay, so you didn't really get a big tour. Did they? Because you had recorded a demo with Eyes.
Yeah.
And did they then put out that demo as the second album in '93?
No, kind of right.
Okay.
When in 1989 we went into the studio, we spent a month in the studio in New York with a producer named Frank Filippetti.
Okay.
And the entire record was self-financed by the drummer and his family.
Okay.
They were well-to-do, and he wanted to do things his way instead of a record company breathing down our necks doing it. So he financed it.
Sure.
From that, we recorded from soup to nuts. It mixed, and it was amazing, great record, but it didn't have the balls that the first Eyes album had.
Okay.
It was way more AOR, even borderline MOR at times,
Okay.
which is melodic, more of on the mellower side of rock. And when they brought that album, they were shopping that out as a full album. The album's already done. It's already paid for. It's already done. You just have to deliver it, the masters, and you release it. That was the idea.
Yeah.
When nobody else would do it except for Curb, they said, okay, we want to do this, but we have to redo the whole record, and most of these songs have to go. Okay. So that's why Walk in Fire, there's like 3 songs that ended up on the Windows of the Soul album, which was the second Eyes official album, was the official, supposed to be the first album.
Yeah.
So we recorded Walk in Fire then. We recorded Nobody Said It Was Easy on that. And maybe one more that ended up on, but they said we need more Def Leppard, Tesla. We need more of a, and I was fine with that because I wanted to be along those leagues. I wanted to be what Def Leppard were doing. So you can even hear a lot of influence with when I was doing backing vocals. I was like stacking like crazy. Just we were doing ridiculous amounts of harmonies on those records because I wanted to have that sound.
Yeah. And
so I was out of the band by the time they released the second album. And that was actually officially the first album.
Yeah.
I was not in the band, and they packaged and marketed it as the second album. That's why there were repeat songs on that record.
Okay.
But that was recorded before we did the debut. It's kind of confusing, but
did they work with you at all? I mean, did you have any say in that, or?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. Absolutely. Again, this was finally my time, my years and my era of being in bands.
Yes.
Eyes, Talisman. It was all working situations where we were working together, where I wasn't working for somebody. They weren't working for me.
Yeah.
We were working together, and that's all I wanted all along.
Yeah.
So I finally had that starting in the 1989, 1990 is when it all really started, band oriented focus.
So you had been with Marcel and Yngwie. He calls you up. He's like, hey, I got these songs. And you record the first Talisman album, comes out in 1990. And like, you guys are a partnership, right? I mean, you guys do all the writing and everything. You guys get along great. But why do you think? Because I mean, I think Talisman stayed pretty big overseas. But
it started gaining its legs overseas, but again, we weren't with a major label, so we didn't have the We didn't have the major push from
Okay.
the Japanese releases to the European releases. We never really, we didn't even have a manager. So
Yeah.
we had nobody really on our team. We didn't have a team on our side pushing for us and trying to make things happen for us. We just, before we had anything to go viral, before there was social media, we were relying on people discovering it and reading it in a magazine or
Yeah.
hearing about it.
Yeah.
And that just wasn't enough to break a band.
Sure. Sure. Didn't
But I can discuss that's where the whole Jason Bieler thing came in because
that was the
that
next thing I was
guy's
going to ask is he did some
he's
touring with, okay, go ahead.
with Talisman, yeah.
Yeah.
In 1988, I remember my son was about 5 months old, maybe four. I was moving, and I got a call from Wally Voss. I was literally packing boxes, and Wally said, "Hey," Wally was the bass player in Yngwie's band when I did the Trilogy tour. He said, "I have a bass student here in Florida. He's coming out to LA, and he's pretty good. He's getting better, but he's one of my students. And if you you hear of any gigs, anything that's coming up, he wants to move to LA. He's going to go check it out. He's going to be there next week. Maybe you can meet him. Maybe you can help him out." I said, "Actually, I'm in the studio now. I'm working with a producer who's writing a bunch of songs, and he's trying to get a sound for me. We're discussing a solo album."
Okay.
I didn't know anything about if he had contacts in the industry, whatever. All I know is I liked his songs, and we were working on stuff together. And I said, "I don't have a band, and we don't even have the musicians to record the album. We're just writing everything on piano and singing.
Yeah.
He might actually be good for this." So great. So when he came out, I hung out with him. Um, I saw his skills again. I'm going back to my mindset back then is you got to be ridiculous, like on the Yngwie level. And Tom was still too much on the beginner's level.
Yeah.
So I thought, it's not going to work out for me, but I'll keep my eyes and ears out open for him. And so he said, "Hey, I'll give you a cassette tape with my stuff, with just me playing on some stuff." And while we were there, I popped it in. I'm like, "Jesus, who's this guitar player?" "Oh, it's just a local guy named Jason in Coral Springs. He wrote a bunch of these songs, and I'm playing with him." This is before Saigon Kick was even born yet.
Yeah.
I'm like, "Can I get his number?" Because that guy might work for this new project I was doing. So the bass player I'm talking about was Tom DeFile. He was the bass player in Saigon Kick.
Okay.
So Tom moved on, gave me Jason's number, and out of the blue, I called Jason and told him I'm working on this project. And he thought it was a gag. He'll tell the story all the time. That he says, "Yeah, Mom said, hey, there's a guy named Jeff Scott Soto on the phone." Like, "Yeah, stop fucking with me, Mom." It's kind of one of those things. You hear so many of those stories. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And so, he flew out to LA. We met. I played him some of the songs, and I heard him playing. I'm like, "Oh my God, this guy's ridiculous." And he natural born talent. He didn't know his ass from his elbow in theory. He's like, "Oh, I like the way you played a major over minor." He goes, "I have no idea what you just said. I was speaking Chinese." They're talking technical terms. I'm speaking Chinese to him. And so, but I thought this kid's amazing. Project fell apart. Jason and I didn't keep in touch, just went our separate ways until a year later. Talisman album, we recorded it.
Yeah.
There's a great guitar player in Sweden named Christopher Stahl that played all the lead solos on there. Marcel did all the rhythm guitars because he wrote all the songs. So he played all the guitars because the way he wanted them to sound.
Yeah.
But he brought in this guy to play the solos. Very much in that John Norum kind of Yngwie Swedish shredder kind of way of playing.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, we had a hit album in our hands. We had a hit single. We were all blown away.
Yeah.
"I'll Be Waiting" was climbing the charts, just between us climbing the charts, and we're like, "Wait a minute, this was supposed to be just to pay my bills," and all of a sudden it was one of the most beautiful accidents that ever happened in my life and my career. It's why I really love Talisman so much, because it wasn't supposed to be anything but just, "I'll sing for Marcel, I'll get this money, and thank you so much for helping me get through the next few months of my life." Turn into 19 years of my life. But now that we had this thing going on, Marcel said, "We have a problem, though. They want us to do a month of touring. There's dates and everything, TV shows, appearances, blah, 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 festivals." I'm damn. But the guitar player is not available to do this.
Okay.
For whatever reason, it didn't work out. So we need a guitar player. He goes, "I know the guy." I called up Jason. I sent him the songs. He learned everything. We flew to Sweden. And that was the beginning of Talisman.
Okay.
Even our drummer was a singer. Our drummer was Jake Samuelson. He was the singer for the band called the Poodles. He was a singer. He even played a little guitar, who also played drums, but he was not a set drummer. He wasn't trying to be a drummer in life in a rock band.
Yeah.
So, but the fact that he could sing was great for me. I have somebody in the band that can sing killer harmonies with me. He could sing high. He could take high parts, low parts, whatever. And it was great to finally have another singer in the band. Since then, I've never done a band without another lead singer in the band. I got so used to having that at my disposal.
Yeah.
I always need a lead singer by my side to do the harmonies, to do the lead vocal harmonies, and it's funny because the Saigon Kick sound is exactly that. It was based exactly like the Alice in Chains thing, where there's two lead vocals going at all times on most of their songs. And so that's a beautiful thing to have when you have another lead singer in the band. So you fast forward later, Saigon Kick had their success. They're doing their thing, and Beeler wanted to move on from all of that, and he started doing his acoustic thing, kind of like just a stripped down, playing in cool places and whatever. And me filling in with him when he come to LA, I'd sit in with him a few songs, and the banter. We always had that natural comedy banter. Like,
Yeah.
dude, you want to do more of this stuff with me? And since 18 or 19 is when we started doing our little hijinks and comedy cavalcade acoustic thing.
So I have Soto Bueller. You guys do these acoustic shows, the two of you. It's hilarious. I love hearing you sing Saigon Kick. Holy shit. And I love Saigon Kick. Was there ever any point earlier? I mean, Matt Kramer leaves, or there was never any talk about, okay.
No, even when Kramer was out and Jason became the singer, he just knew then, because he wrote all the songs anyway, or majority of all the ideas and everything, the melodies and the lyrics and all that stuff he wrote anyways. But he also knew that to get somebody else in, I think he fell into the Yngwie ideal of, I know what I want. The only way I'm going to get it is for me to actually do it.
Yeah.
And I think also maybe now, where we're at in life now, knowing my versatility, my diversity, he would have asked me now if we were back then.
Yeah.
Because he knows I would actually fit in. I would have fit in. It would have worked. But back then, he probably saw me as somebody that was more dated. I was more of an 80s guy. He was trying to be more of the 90s and into the future kind of guy.
Right.
Maybe back then he would have seen me as somebody holding him back because I'm too dated. I just want to do something that sounds like Def Leppard, and he was in his own world musically. The sound that they had and created was so different from what everybody else was doing, and still is. And
totally,
God bless him for making that decision on carrying forward, on his own.
Yeah. The debut Talisman album comes out in 1990, but times are changing. Grunge starts happening. Like, what are the conversations you are maybe having with Marcel? Or, I mean, you're going to go on to we'll get to Axel Rudi Pell here in a second, but how does grunge impact you and what you're thinking about your musical future?
Well, musically, I didn't change my lane.
Right.
I kind of did. Yes, I kind of did. Because when you listen to the progression of Talisman's music, you'll hear that we became more of a groove rock band. That wasn't really so present on the first album. The first album was more hard rock, melodic rock. By the time we did the second record, again, there was not supposed to be a second record. It was Marcel and I, after a year or more of not speaking, just doing our phone call catch up and reminiscing about the tour we did with Jason. And Jason Saigon Kick was already on its way. They were doing well. And I was just sitting in my apartment just one day. It was in late 91, I think it was. And I was on the phone with Marcel just saying, man, that was so fun. It's like, damn, I would do that again. He goes, really? I thought you weren't interested. I'm like, are you kidding me? If somebody said, let's do another Talisman, of course I'd do it. Hold that thought. 24 hours later, he called me back, and it was all lined up. Had the label, had the date set, already had the songs, because he's always constantly writing songs back then. Yeah. Next thing you know, we had album number 2 ready to gear up for. So, but from that, you can hear we're starting to get more into a groovier kind of thing. Yep. And then that time I spent with Marcel on making Genesis, I became a real huge ship for him musically. For me, everybody was always trying to get me to go heavy or go doing, rock stuff like that. I wanted to start incorporating my past into, and everybody said, no, 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 we don't want that soul. We don't want the R&B feel. It's got to be rock. It's got to be this. Put the blinders on. Stop, Jeff.
Yeah.
And I didn't live my life that way.
Yeah.
Marcel wasn't defying me on it. Instead, he was actually going, man, I really like this. We were listening to Terrence Trent D'Arby all the time, and he was really digging soul music and black music, and to the point he started listening to a lot of funk music. So by the time we got to the Humanimal album, that's when you heard a lot of funky rhythms, there was a lot of groove and funky stuff going on that record. Even the song Color My Ecstasy you can hear such a strong Chili Peppers influence from that song.
Yeah. And we'll get to it. You put out a solo album in '94 that kind of incorporates a lot of different sounds. So
I looked at it as well. If I'm putting a solo record out, why would I put out a record that sounds like a culmination of everything I've already done? Why would I do one song that sounds like Yngwie, one song that sounds like Talisman, et cetera, et cetera? I want to do an album that sounds like what I would do if I chose the direction and the format of the record, which is something I hadn't done before, which is going back to my roots and utilizing all that R&B influence and soul influence and pop influence, but also putting a little edge behind it. And that's how the Love Parade thing came about.
So Talisman starts off as you think it's just going to be a one-shot deal.
One-off, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And in 2006, you release your seventh
album, yeah.
I mean, like over the course of the music scene changes so much. Were you frustrated, or were there attempts made? Like, did you ever feel like you had a shot of cracking a bigger market, or what? Like, how
there was always hope. It was a lot of like, oh God, again, here we go again. Right. Sadly, it was a lot of that. And yeah, of course I was bitter. I was angry that I felt we had something that would have really resonated with a lot of people and didn't. Yeah. Again, without having management or people to fight for us and push. We didn't have real record company, A&R people that are saying, that's my band. I'm going to do anything I have to make this band on top. Yeah. We didn't have any of it. So we would release records, and it's the same exact thing as every other band in existence, where they're talking about a new album. I think it's the best stuff we've done. Every band has to say that because that's how they feel. Yeah. When you're recording and writing something new and fascinating and interesting, you're going, man, now there's no way this can fail. Yeah. And then you just watch it go fizzle up again. So yeah, it got frustrating, but I never stopped. Even when I took a bit of a hiatus from recording and touring, it would have been from 95 until I'm going to say 2001. I wasn't really doing a whole hell of a lot. Okay. I did Axel albums, but I wasn't really touring because there was no interest. When Talisman would go on tour, we'd go on tour for like a month, and then I have the other 11 months. What am I going to do? So that's one of the reasons I was jumping ship to so many different bands and projects and things, because I had to. I needed to sustain my finances. Yeah. And I got so much shit for it back then. Nowadays, everybody's doing it. If there's multiple bands, super groups, and all this stuff. Totally. When I was doing it, oh man, you're ruining your career. Nobody knows who you are. Nobody knows what Jeff Scott Soto stands for. You're in this band. You're doing this style. You're doing this sound, and nobody. That's why you're actually shooting yourself in the foot. I said, first of all, I need to make a living. Unless I get a job, and while I'm waiting for one of these things to resonate, I'm not going to do that. When I'm getting opportunities to do music and do things that I really love and want to do, of course I'm going to take them, because it's number one, I'm getting paid for them, but number two, it's giving me the chance to really flex my wings in terms of, I wouldn't get to sing what I did with Vinnie unless Vinnie asked me to do that. I wouldn't get to sing on a funk song that sounds like Parliament and George Clinton unless I met some guy that was doing that kind of song for the movie soundtrack. All these little things started coming about. And so I became kind of a musical whore. I'll never forget first time I met Gene Simmons. It was in House of Lords. We're talking about Greg Giuffria. Yeah. House of Lords were playing a hometown show in LA at the Forum. I think they were opening for Deep Purple. I don't remember exactly what that, but Chuck Wright was a real good friend of mine. Went backstage afterwards. They were on Simmons Records for the debut House of Lords record, and so Gene was there. And I'm talking to Chuck. I go, "Hey man, introduce me to Gene." He goes, you don't know Gene? I thought you know. Oh, come on. So I went over with him and he goes, "Hey Gene, I just wanted to introduce you to my buddy, singer Jeff Scott Soto." And he said, "Oh, Jeff Scott Soto, the man who'll sing on anybody's album for a buck." And instead of being like, "What an ass," I thought, that's a badge of honor. I just got insulted by Gene Simmons.
Hey, he knew who you were. I mean,
Yeah.
wow.
And he knew I was a soldier of fortune, so screw it.
Well, I mean, and you had your voice, you had, no offense, but your looks, which you were good looking. So were there any other bands maybe that we don't know about that reached out to, I mean, name bands who were like, "Hey Jeff"?
Came about later. Those things came about later, not necessarily then, because again, when the scene was flourishing and when it was at its heyday, the late 80s, mid 80s, late 80s, when it started fizzling out,
Yeah.
that's when my image was starting to kind of feel acceptable.
Okay.
Because I tried everything. When I was with Yngwie, I look at myself, I go, "Oh my God, why didn't I call the fashion police then?" My look, my hair, everything was wrong. And I could see why I wasn't getting offers from other bands and other things. I eventually worked on it. By the time I got to Eyes and Talisman, I started developing kind of a look, but this hair I couldn't do anything with it. It was like Mariah Carey on steroids. So yeah, I started getting a lot of that stuff later when it wasn't such a big deal to have a singer that wasn't blonde hair and blue eyes.
Right.
And yeah, there was a quick moment where Steve Priest from The Sweet was before so many other renditions and versions of that band. The very first rendition, when he was trying to put that back together, I auditioned for that and I got the gig, but I turned it down because I realized, you know what? I don't want to be in a band of this level, especially the only one original member in it. I don't want to be at this level. I want to, if I'm going to join something that's where I'm singing somebody else's music, it should be at a higher level. And I don't want to sound snobby with that. I just didn't want to sing at a lower level something that wasn't mine.
Right.
If it was at a lower level and it was mine, of course, then we're doing it together. We're trying to build it together. Sure. And I love The Sweet. I love those songs with the biggest passion. One of my favorite bands and songs of my entire life. But I just didn't want to go that route. There was a King Cobra point. I turned it down as well because by the time they were talking, it was way later. It was way later. They'd already had different singers and different renditions. And I also thought back in the 80s and 90s, I could sing all that Mark Free stuff because what an incredible singer. But it was right in my wheelhouse. We were right in the same vocal range. Yeah. He had chops for days. And I was always like following in his footsteps. I loved his interpretations of those songs. Yeah. And I could do them back then. But not being able to do them the way I could back then, I wouldn't want to go there. I don't want to cheapen the experience. Okay. So yeah, I had a few offers here and there, and a few bigger ones, which I can't get into. But I have to say it's a pretty charmed life in terms of I got 40 years later. People know who I am. My peers know who I am. I have the respect in the industry. I'm not a millionaire by any stretch. I'm not rolling in the deep. All of that stuff. I never got to that point, but I got something else that's way bigger than money. Is that I have respect and notoriety from my peers, and that to me means the world because I just want people to, if my name is dropped at any circle in this industry, people know who I am, and that to me means it holds its weight in gold. Yeah.
And they do, and hopefully with stuff like this, more casual fans will hear about it anyway.
Yeah.
You put out the last Talisman album, or 7 in 2006. In 2007, Marcel takes his own life.
2009.
What's that? Was it 2009?
2009, yeah. 2009. It was 2009 it happened, yeah.
What did you know he was struggling? And you don't have to go into it. It's not my, but
No, I can give you this general outlook on it,
yeah.
overview. I knew he was dealing with internal pains. He was dealing with carpal tunnel. You know, as a bass player, the kind of bass player he was. First of all, playing guitar and doing all that speed stuff is a little different when the strings are light. When the strings are thick, it's a lot more pressure. It's a lot more usage of the arteries and the tendons, etc. He was experiencing carpal tunnel, so he was even saying, "I'm worried that if we go on tour or even making a new album, it's not going to be what it was."
Okay.
I could see that that was really bothering him because I know how that when I started first seeing that my voice wasn't what it used to be, and I'm not ever going to be able to do what I was able to do in my 20s or 30s ever again.
Sure.
Of course, it gets in your head. I'm like, oh my God, it's over. That's it. Until you readapt, until you find what that's a whole different conversation.
Yep.
But I could see that was really bothering him. And then he had a lot of financial issues. He just everything in the guy's life was upside down.
Okay.
And he just could not dig himself out of it. He was never one to throw in the towel. He was never one to even ask for help. He didn't come my way asking for help. But the night before he took his life, it was a week before we were supposed to start the 8th Talisman album.
Okay.
He'd written all the songs, and I asked him, can you send me stuff so I can at least start working on melodies, start working on lyrics? He goes, no. Let's do it like we did the Humano album. We do it all together. We write it from the ground up, and we created. Okay, cool. I'm down with that. But I thought it was kind of strange because he always demoed songs. Even if it was just doing it at home, he always had references. And I learned later after he took his life, there were no references because I don't think he had anything. If he had them, they were all in his head. But he didn't demo anything.
Okay.
So we were going to go in completely, okay, where should we start? It was going to be one of those. But anyway, the conversation was not about we're starting the album in a week and I don't have the songs yet. The conversation was who's going to get the advance? Who's going to collect the advance so we can book the studio time and get it done? And I said, well, can't be me, dude. Last year, because I stopped working with the Boogie Nights. That's a disco cover band that I from 1995 until 2001. I did that, a nostalgic band that I made tons of money from. And I kind of got to lay low without suffering. I made great money and I got to live that life of playing out every night. But it was a cover band.
Yeah.
But it gave me a chance to kind of wait for the musical climate to change where I knew I could step back into it. Okay. So when I left the Boogie Nights, I got audited and, you know, they wanted to know why I went from such a big, huge earnings to virtually nothing. So they thought I was hiding money and I got audited. I had to pay stupid amount for the audit, etc. And then I got audited again 2 years after that. And I told them because the reason was because the last album that we did, I received the money. We made the record, and when I did my taxes, whatever I did wrong or whatever how I did it, I was accountable for $30,000, just a straight shot into my account. It wasn't, oh well, we recorded an album. I didn't keep the money. Didn't matter. It showed in my account as personal income, and I got screwed for it. I had to pay the taxes on it. So I told him, dude, I can't do it. I'm not incorporated. I don't want to show that kind of money coming in my account again. And he said, well, it's even worse for me. I owe the government so much money that if the money's wired to my account, it gets seized. We have no record. The record company they'll sue us because we can't make a record. We'll have no money. The money's going to be gone.
Okay.
I'm like, oh, geez. Okay. And I'm trying to think, how am I going to do this? And already we were defeated. I said, you know what? I hung up the phone with him. I said, let me call my accountant. I'll see what I can pull together, and then we can we'll go from there. I'll arrange it. I'll get the money. Let's do it this way. We can't go your route. That's not going to work.
Yeah.
Hung up the phone, and it was not even 24 hours later, I got a call from his sister saying he took his life.
Oh. Man.
Yeah. It was tough, and it's still, you know, I have my moments. I have my days where it's tough. Yeah. Especially when I do the songs, I don't think about it because they're part of my repertoire, part of my life. But when I do songs with the guys, when we do the once in a while reunion shows, that's where it really hits me. Especially when I know sorry,
Yeah.
that on the screen, they're showing visuals of him,
Yeah.
and that's when it really hits me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't imagine. Shoot.
Yeah.
Go listen to
So
Talisman.
again,
Really.
he didn't give any indication that he could go that route. In fact, it was the opposite, because as a side hustle, he invested in and went back to school. He went into studying psychology. He wanted to be a psychiatrist.
Okay.
So if anything, we thought, what a great vehicle, for a great tool for him to be able to channel any of those negative energies towards, is that he's got a way to actually help himself, because he wants to help other people.
Yeah.
In fact, it was the opposite, because he knew how to get into other people's heads to not ever even know that he could ever be capable of doing this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I implore people to go listen to Talisman. I love that stuff. And I hope I'm not keeping you too long. I hope
No, we're good.
oh, okay, because
I'm trying to keep it interesting for you and anybody
Awesome.
watching, because there's so much to talk about. Like you did with Greg, we could do it in 2 or even 3 parts, but
yeah.
we're getting through it. We're getting through it. I'll try not to be as detailed with some of the latter stuff, because
You're
as we talk about Journey, TSO, and
Sure.
those are more recent, so
Yep.
people are more familiar with the history and the stories and the details behind those,
Yep.
more so than Talisman and the Yngwie stuff. Because before social media, it was difficult to know a lot of the inside.
Totally. And this is awesome because this is great. I gotta ask about scrap metal. Maybe the first Steel Panther. I mean, like listening to all these interviews and knowing your career, like that just seems like how did that come about?
Again, it was a session that came about. I'm trying to think of who gave, I think, and the producer for scrap metal is the producer I was talking about, that we were working on a solo album for me, that I met Jason Beeler and Tom DeFile.
Yep.
It was that guy. We did the scrap metal record, and he was a real producer and did real songs. That was more of a gag thing.
Yeah.
And originally, when we did those songs, he intentionally asked me, can you sound like Coverdale on this song? Because this sounds like a Whitesnake song. Can you sound like Billy Idol on this song? Can you sound like Vince Neil on this song? When we did those songs, everybody thought those people were on this record.
Yes.
It was this big mystery. Who is scrap metal? There's no band. There's no picture. There's no names.
Yes.
And then finally, my name was associated with it. But then they still thought, well, okay, Jeff's on this. We know his voice, but that's got to be David Coverdale. That's got to be. And nope, it was all me. So we kind of ran with it, and it was fun and funny. They wrote everything. I had nothing to do with lyrics. So before anybody judges that I'm a disgusting, I'm a pig and a man's world, this is sexist and all that stuff, I had nothing to do with it. It was a paid session.
Right.
But it was fun and it was funny. And it led to what should have been my first solo album. That didn't happen until my first real solo album. I did Love Parade. But yeah, scrap metal was just a fun gag kind of thing that came out in '88 or something like that. Again, I needed the money, got offered a session, I did it.
It's hilarious, and you kind of wonder if it was just a little bit too early, like maybe you were ahead of the game, because
possibly, yeah. Oh yeah, if you look at the lyrically, it could certainly fall into the Steel Panther category of satire, and yeah.
Yes. So the album is called Sensitive.
Yeah.
Scrap metal. So check that out. Okay.
Yeah.
So now you get into another guitar virtuoso, because now I want to go into Axel Rudi Pell, and I'm just kind of going project by project. So
right.
Okay. You join Axel in '92. You put out what 3 albums and a live album. So and all of this is going on during Talisman too. Like, how do you?
Yes and no. Yes and no. Actually, okay. My first involvement was, I think it was '91. It started with Axel.
Okay.
I got a call again. I think it was from the same woman that hooked me up with Mo and Doyle, saying, "Oh no, I'm sorry. This was Roy Z. I went to high school with Roy Z.
Okay.
And he called me, telling me about Axel. He goes, a German guitar player. He's really big out there. He was in the German band Steeler, and I remember hearing there was a German Steeler when there was a U.S. Steeler.
Yeah.
So I knew of him from that. I didn't know of him. I knew of them.
Yeah.
And he said just released a solo album, and Rob Rock sang on the record. He released his second solo record, and he's got this road show, this heavy Metal Hammer road show. But he does. Rob can't do it. Rob can't do the tour. Can you? He's looking for a singer again. Soldier of Fortune. I need the money.
Yeah.
I listen to the music. This is great. I can absolutely do this. I learned Rob stuff, and I did that tour with him. From there, I got invited to do Internal Prisoner, which was the first album I sang on with him.
Yep.
And then we did the Ballads album. It snowballed into working with him regularly. But once again, his tours wouldn't be any more than a month and a half, and then I'd have the rest of the year off.
Yeah.
It wasn't supposed to be. I didn't intend for it to be an ongoing thing, but of course, he was asking, so I kept coming back. By the time I did the last album, I think with Black Moon Pyramid was the last one, I was already with the Boogie Nights. I was with them every week, year in, year out. I got 2 weeks off a year with the Boogie Nights, and they subbed me out just so I could have a break. I could have a vacation. The first vacation I took from them, I actually went to Germany. I did all the vocals at my home studio, but Axel wanted to go over everything together, like kind of proof the album, and he wanted me there present. So if we had to change anything, I was there. We could just do it in person. So when he realized there's no way I could do that tour, and he kind of felt Jeff is not really into this. He's kind of removed because he's got so many gigs going on. His voice doesn't sound as passionate on this album. It doesn't sound like he's really into it anymore. That's why he moved on and got Johnny Joeli involved. Yeah. Because there's just no way I could have taken time off to do his tour. And I wasn't really interested at that point. I was so content with what I was doing with the Boogie Nights that I only did Axel's last album with him because he really wanted me to do it, but I just didn't really have the time or the interest to do anything else at that time. I was so busy with the Boogie Nights. And so it wasn't a fractured relationship, but I think he was a little bit bummed that when we did that record that there was not going to be any more follow-up. Sure. And almost like, I wish he would have told me that we weren't going to be able to continue doing stuff together because maybe he would have gotten somebody else on the record at the time. Who knows? Okay. So yeah, it was yet another situation. But again, working with Axel is working with Axel. His name is on the marquee, but he was such a loving, funny, giving, caring guy. When I hung out with him, it was all about laughing. It's all about hanging, and we just had a blast together. Yep. So musically, it was his world. It was pretty, straight ahead German rock kind of stuff, which was great. Yep. But especially by that point, I had a band called Slam that I was doing in between Talisman when Talisman didn't seem like it was going to really be doing much else. And I was really, really in that. I was listening to only like Prince, and my whole world was back into R&B and stuff. Yeah. Rock was such on a back burner by then that, I really didn't really want to do that kind of style of music anymore. Sure. And even when I jumped back into the scene after Boogie Nights in 2001, I started doing, or 2001, I started doing something that was more along the lines of like Korn and White Zombie. It's a lot of groove, it's like really heavy, but it had a lot of groove, and you just like, man, you could dance to this music. It's so groovy and so badass, but it was still heavy. So I kind of wanted that world. Okay. I wanted to dive into that world, and that's what I was doing with a band called Red List at that time in like 2000, 2001. Okay. When you're doing Axel and you're doing Talisman and then you're in Takara for a while, where are you living at? I stayed in Los Angeles the whole time.
Okay.
Yeah, I've never I've moved. I was in Florida when we recorded the Humanimal album, but I was only there for 6 months. I moved out after the 94 earthquake. Okay. And I moved back to LA after 6 months. Florida wasn't for me. Okay. Let me see. Yeah, let me go back to Takara. Takara was another situation where guitar player was a great friend of mine, good songwriter, didn't have a singer. Yep. I helped him finish songs, demo songs, got interest to release the songs. Once he found the singer, they didn't like his singer. Okay. So they said the only way we're interested in release these songs if Jeff's vocals are on there. I said, oh boy, well, it's going to be confusing because people are going to think it's my band. I don't want them to think that. So we tried to come up with a way to word it that people would actually, it was black and white. Guest vocal appearance by Jeff Scott Soto did not matter. They just see my face, they see my name, it's my band all of a sudden. So for years, even though I I sang out of protest. I wanted to be the producer and help them write the songs and produce them.
Yeah.
I did not want to be the singer, but
Okay.
there was no other interest at that time for them to release records with another singer. So I did them because I wanted to help my friend out.
Okay. Okay. I gotta ask about Biker Mice from Mars,
Great,
the
great.
soundtrack, the animated TV show soundtrack. How does that come
As the
about?
father of a 4-year-old or 5-year-old at the time, it was probably one of the highlights of my life because my son at that age was the biggest Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle fan on the planet. I had to take him to the Mutant Ninja Live at the Universal Amphitheater. We go to Universal Studios. We had to watch the show and be part of all the different. He was obsessed with this. So
Okay.
when Biker Mice from Mars came out and offered me to sing on the record, and then all the toys in the cartoon, all of a sudden my son went from, oh yeah, dad's a singer, to, oh, my dad is a singer in Biker Mice. It finally resonated what I did for a living. It was awesome. They sent him a bunch of toys, and I still have the Biker Mice leather jacket and all that stuff. It was really cool. It was a lot of fun. And that was another project that I was brought on. I was only supposed to sing 2 or 3 songs, and I ended up singing the whole record because Vince Neil was supposed to do it. I forget. There were a bunch of other names on it, and they started dropping like flies. Hey, Vince is not going to be doing it. Can you sing this song? Yeah. And while I'm doing that, hey, so and so is not going to be able to. Can you do that one? Sure. And I end up doing the whole record.
Okay. Okay. So you brought up the Boogie Nights. It's like a disco cover funk cover band.
Yeah.
And I heard you say that, and you did say it earlier, like you said you made more money doing that than you did anything you had done musically up to that point. I mean, I think that kind of shocks people, but
Let me give you just okay. We're going back to 1999.
Yeah.
You remember when the world was supposed to blow up because we're going to 2000 and computers didn't know the numerical change. Everything was built and based on the 1900s.
Yeah.
Oh my God, things are going to melt down. The satellites are going to explode. It's going to shoot lasers. The world's over.
Yeah.
So 2000 was a big one. Everybody, the offers already, we were making hand over fist. We were making so much money with Boogie Nights.
Yeah.
Our New Year's Eve gig, we got offered to play in Vegas. And we also did a weekly gig at it was called the Coconut Club. It was at the not the Beverly Hills Hotel, the Beverly Regency, one of those hotels. Merv Griffin's, the Beverly Garland. No,
Okay.
not the Beverly Garland. No. Anyway, it's where they do the damn it, what's the name of that award show? The one that comes before the Oscars, where they have all the categories in there, but it's chosen by the Associated Press.
I never watched it.
Damn it! Why I'm drawing a blank right now. Merv Griffin Productions. It's all, everything's done there and still done there.
Yeah.
Anyways, so we had a Friday night gig there. So first came the Vegas offer, and we thought Vegas is nobody's gonna outbid Vegas.
Yeah.
They outbid them.
Okay.
We got $100,000 for a disco band playing cover songs, dressed in froze, and I made $19,000 that night just to sing for 2 45-minute sets. That's the level of money I was making with the Boogie Nights.
Holy
It was
shit.
ridiculous. So how could I leave? Why would I want to leave?
Yeah.
And it was when things were kind of starting to go down. We had 5 solid years of going up, up, up. And then finally there was a middle thing, and then it started going down. I'm like, I don't want to go down with the ship, but also I see musically, this is my chance to re-enter. This is my chance to get back into doing things the way been wanting to do them for a while. So finally, I left the Boogie Nights. I joined them. In 1995 is when they had like 8 or 9 different renditions of them because they were in such demand. They would start up with all their friends. Hey, you want to do another version of it? And they put them in different parts of the country, and they were playing all over the place. I was in Talisman going, I'm doing nothing. So every Wednesday night I would go see them. On a Wednesday night, they'd sell out clubs. Yeah. Nobody else could do that on any given night of the week. Yeah. On a Friday and Saturday, they didn't have as many people as they had on a Wednesday night at their gigs. Yeah. And I was thinking, man, I know every single one of the songs. This was my world before I got into rock. I know every lyric. I know Car Wash. I know every Donna Summer song. I know every Bee Gees song. I know every song. I want to do this too.
Yeah.
So I met the guys and I said, if you ever need a singer, and they finally took me up on it and put me in one of their sister bands called the Polyester Pimps. But they in Vegas, the Boogie Nights were the kings of this whole domain. And
Yeah.
then we had all the different bands: Disco Inferno, La Freak, Polyester Pimps, blah blah blah. We had all these different offshoots. And the Boogie Nights, the main band, they had a guy named Adam singing, and he was good. He was good for what he did. He was actually the original singer for Warrant back in the day when they were teenagers, before Jamie Lane got in the band.
What was
So I
his
knew
name?
Adam
Adam
Walsh.
Shore?
Oh, Adam Shore. Yeah, sorry,
Oh,
Adam
no.
Shore. Yeah, he was originally in the Boogie Nights, but
Oh,
that he started with these guys because same frustration. My band's nothing's happening. These guys, it's steady work. It's really good work,
yeah.
but then they saw me. They came out to my gig. The Boogie Nights came out to my Polyester Pimps gig one night and go, "Hang on a second, we could have that guy fronting us." Can you imagine what it would sound like? It was a whole new ideal of where they could take it now,
Right.
and it was no dig at Adam. He knew his limitations. They knew as far as they could take it with him. And I'm not saying I'm the reason for it, but when I joined the band, everything just started going up. The level of money, the interest, man, I was working so much. It was actually it was the thing that gave me nodules. It's the first time I actually experienced problems with my voice. I had the surgery done in 2001
Okay.
because after singing every week, 4 days a week for 5 years straight with 2 weeks off a year, you do the math, that's a lot of singing. I had no technique. I was singing 3 sets a night
Yeah.
with no training, no idea of how to ration my voice and how to sing a certain way where I'm protecting myself. I'm just balls to the wall singing everything the same way I was singing metal, the same way I was singing with Yngwie.
Yeah.
But this time I'm doing female songs. I'm doing Donna Summer in full strength, Earth, Wind, and Fire, in full voice.
Yeah.
And I actually screwed myself. So I actually had to get the vocal surgery. And from that, I could feel I lost a good percentage of my range of my voice even by then, before age was starting to become a factor.
Have you had any issues since then?
I've been scoped and checked, and I haven't had that level, but I know now. I learned how to actually use my voice in a way where I'm not hurting it.
Yeah.
I'm still an idiot. I'm still prone to using the wrong ways of doing things, and yeah, I'll go on stage going, "Oh God, I'm not going to hit it tonight," Whereas somebody like Dino Jalusic, he has this thing down to a science. He could be sick, be on a bender for days and no sleep and everything, and he'll go up there and crush it because he knows how to use his voice a certain way where it's not hurting him. I wish I had that then, because it would have saved me a hell of a lot of heartache through the decades.
You said you didn't drink until you were in your 30s. I mean,
I started drinking in Boogie Nights, yeah.
okay. It doesn't seem like you ever became a big partier, though.
No.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
No, I got to admit, I was starting to get out of hand, as far as I was needing to get drunk to do that gig. It's one of the reasons I kind of wanted to move out, because it got to the point where it was only fun as long as there were libations involved. Because when you go to a gig and you go, "Oh God, here we go, I got to put on these polyester things and the wig," and we call it the boogie blues. And so the boogie blues is easily remedied by the first couple shots of tequila. Then all of a sudden, hey, the more shots are coming, the more I want to finish this set. And we had a blast until we started getting complaints later, things that we didn't remember were going on. We were doing the shows and the manager get complaint that we were foul mouthed, or we're sloppy, or kind of falling here and there. I'm like, I don't remember being like that. I thought it was great, because obviously when you're impaired, you don't realize that. So yeah, I was getting to a point where my alcohol tolerance was really high. I could do lots of shots and still be able to exist, and that's kind of dangerous, because that's when you're becoming an alcoholic. When it doesn't affect you, or you need a lot of it to affect you, it's like, okay, I need to back out of this. So I learned to I always kept it under control. If a doctor or somebody tomorrow told me your life is dependent on it, you can't have another drink, I will put it down and not even think twice about it. It's not like, oh no, what am I going to do? I've never been somebody with that kind of personality.
Yeah. and this is it's my business, but you mentioned your son, did you have custody, or maybe you don't want to talk about it, but like
No, no,
what?
no. Me and his mom split when he was just like two-ish, two and a half.
Okay.
And yeah, we had joint custody. Obviously, when I was in the Boogie Nights, it was a little tougher because I was out of town a lot. But I did as much as I could, especially then when I was making that kind of money. I was absolutely paying a lot more.
Yeah.
The first lean years,
Yeah.
I I I had a court order for a minimum amount that I was just barely able to make. But
Yeah.
obviously, once I was starting to make more, I would dish it out
Yeah.
a little easier. Oh, he needs this, no problem, I'll pay for it. But
Yeah.
his mom did well in her life too. Thankfully, she wasn't dependent on me being providing his way in life.
Sure.
So thankfully, she never hit me for alimony, and I paid such a minimum for him until he was 18. But as things were really good, I always gave more. I always gave
Sure.
that extra. And then
Sure.
obviously once he was 18 and on his own, I wasn't bound by the court to do it, but still, to this day, I still help him out, hook him up where he needs it. He's 37. Everybody falls into hard times at some point, and he knows he can always count on me.
Okay, awesome, awesome. I was like, like you don't hear about the rock star side of professional life very
No,
often.
partially because he didn't get into the business, and it's funny because he's tone deaf, and we make jokes about it, especially when people say, "Oh, does his son play anything?" Oh, yeah, yeah. The only thing he plays the radio.
Okay, so in 2000, you played this Freddie Mercury birthday party with Queen, and you have other shit going on with Queen. I think in 2011, what the hell did you do? You sang like
2012, the Queen Extravaganza of 2012.
yes. So like, how does this happen that you get pulled into the Queen world, which had to be a huge thrill for you?
How long has this been going? We've been going for almost over 2 hours, almost 2 hours. Unfortunately, this is not a short story. It's an interesting one, and I've never been able to tell it to anybody. So if you want to
I'm in no rush.
if you want to give it to me, you're going to be the first one that gets the full story of how this all went down.
Please.
I love telling it, but it's a long story. It's so hard to abridge it.
No. Go ahead.
In 1998, 1998, I remember being home, reading about or seeing an interview where Brian May was talking about his second solo album that he was working on, that he was going to be releasing. And when they asked him about doing a tour again, he said the first album was Back to the Light. The second solo album was Another World. If he was going to do another tour like he did on the first album, he said, no, you know what? I realized how difficult that truly is to be the lead singer and your voice to be capable, working every night, as well as the guitar player, as well as the band leader, as well as the marquee name. It's just too much effort. I'm not going to be touring on this record. I'm like, oh, what a pity. And then I thought, hang on a second, light bulb just went up. What if Brian May, who had no idea who I was, I've never met him before, we never had any interaction, but me being the massive Queen fan that I am, what if he actually got a vocalist to tour this new album? He can throw in some Queen songs. He could just sing a couple that he really wants to sing and let the vocalist do the rest. Yeah. Maybe he might be interested in that. I need to reach out to Brian May and offer my services. Brilliant idea. How do I reach him? The internet was new. It was still relatively new. 1998. I went online and I'm looking everywhere. Queen management, representative, anything that can get me to a name or an email address of somebody to send my stuff to make this little inquiry.
Yeah.
Nothing. I knew his manager was Jim Beach, but there's no email, there's no site, nothing to send anything. As I'm actually looking for stuff, I keep coming across these other headlines that said Queen possibly, and these were recent headlines, discussions of possibly reuniting with a new singer, possibly looking for a singer. I'm like, hang on a second, forget about singing for Brian May. Now I need to get my stuff to them to sing for Queen, because at that point we'd already done a cover of "Let Me Entertain You" on the Talisman album. I had a few Queen oriented things that I could actually send them, of them hearing me, and then other things that I recorded very Queen oriented that they could also say, yeah, this guy would be great for us. They weren't doing anything. But of course, all of this, and one of the things I read was off BBC, and I know BBC is official. If they're putting it out, it must be real. It's not just some phony baloney clickbait stuff. especially back then. There was very much less of that than there is now.
Yeah.
So I'm fishing and looking, and the only thing I could find to send anybody anything with an email address was the official Queen fan club in UK. And that's run by a woman named Jackie Smith. She was there from the earlier years when they first started their fan club. She was running it. She ran it when it was thousands and thousands of people, and they were even having conventions, a Queen convention every year. They were doing this while the band were still active, etc. So she knows all the guys. She's been backstage with them at their homes and all that stuff. I thought maybe if I sent it to her, she'd be willing to take it to Jim Beach or one of the guys in the band. So I wrote to her, email, no reply. Said basically, got all these songs. If this is true, I would love to be a contender. I know you don't know who I am. I was a shot in the dark.
Yeah.
No reply. Decided to nudge it again. Sent another email. Sorry to bother you. Just resending in case it ended up in spam or something. No reply. Third time was a charm. She finally wrote back, almost annoyed because I was pushy.
Yeah.
Listen, thank you for your inquiry. There's nothing happening with the band. What you read is probably something taken out of context, etc. I'm happy to hear your stuff and forward it to whomever, but I'll tell you right now, nothing's happening. That was good enough for me. She sent the address. I burned my little CD, sent it off to England. 2 weeks later, I get this email almost in all caps. Oh my God, you're amazing. You're incredible. I gotta get this. I'm bringing this to Brian and handing it to him in his front door. He's got to hear this. It's like, whoa, persistence, huh?
Yeah.
So from that, she said, by the way, I've listened to the CD you sent me so many times. I'll be so, they call it gutted. When they say I'm bummed out, I'll be gutted if I have to let go of it. Could you send me another one so I can say I have my own copy of it? Of course, you're doing me this favor.
Yeah.
Sent her. Within a month, I got a handwritten letter from Brian May. Jeff, I know who you are from Yngwie, blah, blah, blah. Thank you for sending your stuff. You sound fantastic. You're a great singer. Accolades, compliments. Unfortunately, nothing's really happening. I'm doing this solo album and I'm not really doing anything in music these days much. And I'm really putting a lot of my efforts into my astronomy, and he's got a doctorate in astronomy, and he really wanted to get into that.
Yep.
Or he was into that, and that's what he was focusing at the time. So I wrote back saying, Brian, it means the world that you wrote to me. Thank you so much. If all the who, here, what's, and whys happens, I'm your guy. Please reach out to me. I'd love to do something, maybe even just do something on the side with you, whatever. And he wrote back again, another handwritten letter, because she told me that he wasn't big on email at that time.
Okay.
So getting a handwritten letter, this is awesome. I scanned it and I have it somewhere in my archives because my first drop of Hello with Brian May, that was in 98. So now we fast forward to, it was probably the end of 98 going into 99. So now we go into August of 99. And I get an email from Jackie saying, I'm reaching out because Brian is playing at an event that we're hosting. The Queen fan club is hosting. It's a big party for Freddie. It's a Freddie Mercury birthday party that a lot of the diehard fans come out, like maybe 2,000 in attendance in a convention hall. And Spike Edney, who is the keyboard player for Queen and musical director, to this day still is, he's got a band, Spike's All-Star Band, and Brian's making an appearance. If you can make your way over here on your own dime, of course, I can arrange for you to sing a song with Brian. That's all I need to hear.
Oh, yeah.
Once again, the same thing as the Yngwie situation. If anything, I finally get to meet Brian, get to sing for Brian so he hears my voice, and let that just be, I don't have to do any more talking. Let him hear. If it works for him in anything in the future, great. If he thinks I suck, so be it. But at least I finally got that drop.
Yeah.
So this is why the story gets long, because I was full on with Boogie Nights at the time. We played Wednesday and Thursday in Vegas and Sunday and Monday in Phoenix. For some reason, we didn't play Fridays and Saturdays. We played the nights that people couldn't fill up, and we sold those nights out every time. Wednesday and Thursday were sellout shows in Vegas. Yeah. Sunday and Monday were sellout shows in Phoenix and Tucson.
Yeah.
So Friday and Saturday were always freed up for some reason.
Okay.
So when we played in Vegas, everybody knows everything in Vegas goes till really late, especially our Thursday gig. Our Thursday gigs, I'd probably get to bed the earliest at 3:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
So this night, because I said yes, I'm coming. I booked my flight, did my gig at the drink, went back to the hotel, showered, went straight to the airport. Obviously, no sleep. Had a 6 a.m. flight to London. No sleep. Didn't sleep going there. I was so excited. My brain couldn't shut off.
Yeah.
I landed. My sister-in-law lived in London. I went to her place to shower. I didn't even get a room there. She said, just come here, have a nap. I was too amped. Even there, I didn't have a nap. It was a day later, and I'd sung and everything and flown. I could not sleep.
Ooh.
And the gig was, now I flew on a Friday, but you lose a day going there. So the gig was on Saturday.
Yeah.
So I arrived there on Saturday morning, took a shower, went out to lunch, and then I had to get on a train to Reading. That's where the event was. Reading is about an hour and change outside of London. I think there I like passed out just out of, I couldn't keep myself awake, but I just passed out for a minute. Got to the train station, got into the venue, met Brian. We did a rehearsal in the locker room. I'll never forget when we did the song Dragon Attack, because I covered that song on my Love Parade album. I did a kind of like a funky hip hop version of Dragon Attack. So I knew the song really well. And then, so we're in there. They said, let's do that one. Brian really liked doing that song. And so we're in there. The rest of the band were going over the backing vocals and say, okay, you sing this one, this one, this one. Don't mess up the words. They're different words every time. Just try to remember write them down if you need them. And so they're going over and I'm just sitting there going, this is fucking awesome. This is awesome. This is awesome. And so Spike says, Jeff, can you sing the lead in between? So because it's low down, we don't take no prisoners, go down. So we have a reference of where we should be singing. Can you sing in between us? Their amount of harmonies sounded this big. When I did my lead vocals, it's this big. Halfway through it, Brian goes, bloody hell, you're loud. He goes, my God, you have such a strong voice. And I'm like, oh, I'm loving this right now. Why can't anybody be watching this and filming this?
Yeah.
So we did the gig. And also that night, Brian said, we're going to, when he did his last tour, they did the song Since You've Been Gone, the Rainbow song, because that bloody chorus, it gets so high for me. Can you do me a favor and sing the lead? I'll sing the harmony under. Since You've Been Gone. He wanted me to take that part. And he would, Since You've Been Gone. He could sing the lower one because it's easier on his voice. I go, yeah, no problem, Brian. I'll take the high part. And this is with no sleep. This is all adrenaline. Yeah. I'm going. We did the gig. It was great. Went back to the hotel afterwards. We stayed up till 4 a.m. talking and just sitting with drinks. And I'm just going, I'm trying to find any kind of edge to say, Brian, if you need me, I'm here. Let's do something. And he was just almost like, even at that age, at that time, he was almost in grandpa mode, like, oh, I'm not doing anything music. I'm just tired. I don't want to do this. And of course, he did a lot more later. But I thought he was just no way he's going back onto doing things again. So I literally finally went to sleep. It was Sunday morning at 3 o'clock in the morning, British time. And I had to be at the airport at 8 o'clock. I had 5 hours I could sleep, and I had to head to the airport. Flew back on a Sunday morning because we played Saturday night. Sunday morning, flew back to Phoenix, where my other gig is. Still landed on Sunday. Went to the hotel, changed, and I had a gig that night. How insane!
I could go.
I was fine because I slept on the plane. I was finally, my whole body just shut down because the adrenaline was over. I still had the excitement, but the adrenaline was over. And but I still had to get the Sunday, Monday gigs out of the way. So it was sing Wednesday, Thursday, fly over to England, lose Friday, sing Saturday night, fly back Sunday morning, had to sing Sunday and Monday. But I left such an impression that it resonated with Brian, where we became pen pals. We were writing to each other. Now he's on email, and we would keep in touch. And then it was in 2001 when they were getting the star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Brian and Roger were in town, and I was invited to help them celebrate the after show party. It was not a show. It was a party with very, very few, very distinguished guests. Must have been about 600 people there. A really nice venue in Santa Monica. And I did Stone Cold Crazy with Brian and Roger. We did a bunch of stuff with the SAS band. Steve Vai played. Nuno Betancourt was there. It was great. And that was where I first met Roger. And even then, He goes, bloody hell, you have great voice. And he's just really talking me up. I'm like, wow, this is great. I got Brian and Roger on my
Yeah.
side. It's awesome. And we've just been really good friends since. I let the singing do the talking.
Yeah.
The singing is the thing that gave me, it got me through that door, that introductory door. I didn't have to sell myself.
Yeah.
Say, oh, I could do this or I can sing that. No, you got to hear it. And now you know what I can do. And if you ever need it later in life, and that's where the Queen Extravaganza came about. Because when Roger was putting that together in 2011, he said, I was with TSO. He goes, Jeff, we're going to take three different singers to represent the three different sides of Queen. But I don't think we've got the rock side covered with the three singers we got. One was a female, a young girl, great voice named Jennifer. And Mark Martel, of course, was the other singer. And we got another guy named Yvonne, a French-Canadian guy, who had a really nice high tenor, higher, thinner voice. And he could do all the earlier Freddie stuff with ease. But they didn't have anybody who could do the Stone Cold Crazies or the Hammer to Fall or the We Will Rock You, the more gritty Freddie side. So he asked, would you be the fourth guy doing that stuff and sing background and everything else? Yeah, absolutely. But I also said yes to it because I thought, hey, they're not with Paul Rogers anymore. Maybe if I remind them what I'm about, they'll take me in. And then when they announce they're with Adam Lambert, it's like,
I was going to ask, was there even any like, hey, we're looking for a singer, maybe you'll be, or was it just, you just heard they found Adam Lambert?
I would say there were maybe inklings of, you never know, or and again, I was living in England towards the latter part of the 2000s, before 2010, like 2009, 2010. I was already living in England, so while I was there, I was nearer to them. So they had certain things they wanted to do. They had they were doing the We Will Rock You thing. I auditioned for that out of their request. I had no interest being in Broadway and musical theater and that type of thing, but I remember I was doing the Soul Circus thing, and they asked me to come down to Vegas and audition for the lead role in We Will Rock You, and they thought it was great, but the producers rather, at the end, they thought I was too old to represent a young guy, the character that portrays. I would have done it just to be able to sing all those songs every night, and of course, out of requests from Brian and Roger, but it just didn't come to pass.
Yeah.
So again, I think I gave them enough to go on that if they were ever thinking or considering it, I'm their guy. I'm there. And since then, I've still since then done stuff. A couple of years ago, I sang "Show Must Go On" with Brian at the Starmus convention. Another thing he's interested in. Starmus is it's an astronomers convention that they do every year in different locations around the world. But it's called Starmus because they're talking about the stars, but the must part is for music. They like to marry the two ideas of stars and music together. So that's the Starmus convention. Okay. So Sons of Apollo played, that bill, and then we got to do "Show Must Go On" with Brian. It was a lot of fun.
So if Brian ever needed you, you're always there, ready to go.
I would donate my salary to the band or to any charity or anything if they called me to sing for them. That's one that I would do for free, because my love for this band has no bounds. What they've given me as far as influence, inspiration, just everything I got from that band, I would do it for free just for the sake of giving back.
Okay. Tom, you sang backgrounds on a bunch of albums that Tom Werman produced. He did a bunch of big albums.
Did your homework. I like it.
On the late 80s, early 90s. And in 2001, he gets asked to be the music director for Rockstar the movie, and he says, we need Jeff Scott Soto. So tell us, like when did you get the message, hey, we might need you to sing for this movie?
Okay, a bridge version. I'm going to try and get to the point a little quicker now because we've been going a while. I don't want to exceed Greg Jafria's interview.
Okay.
This is long. Okay. In 95, I think it was 95. No. 95 was the last album I did. What? Maybe it was 91, 90 or 91. Striper Against the Law. When did that get released?
I think 91.
So it would have been in 90. I got a call from Michael. Again, I told you I've been friends with these guys since 85, since before they did Soldiers.
Yep.
When they did the EP, that's where we became friends.
Yep.
Got a call from Michael. He explained they're doing an album that's a little more secular. They didn't want to do an album that was laced with so many biblical references. They want to do something that's just a more standard, non-secular album. And from that, they wanted a tougher sound. Now, when they sing backgrounds in the studio, they sound like angels. He said, we sound too sweet. It sounds too poppy, too fluffy. We need some grit. Would you be willing to come in and sing background on a couple songs? Hell yeah, absolutely. I didn't say hell yeah to Michael Street. Heck yeah. So I love this guy. I love these guys. My God, I've known him for so long. I went in to do it, and Tom Werman's producing it. I ended up singing on the whole record because he loved I guess with the frequencies of where my voice sat with theirs, it turned their nice soft sound and my really gritty sound into kind of a medium. It was kind of, I softened them where they softened me where I made them tougher. So the balance was just perfect for all those songs. So they asked me to sing on everything. From that, Worm was really impressed because I'm really fast in the studio. I know theory. If he says, yeah, there's a section here, I think we need a harmony. I don't know what it is. And he would play it. I would sing it to him. We can do this one or we can do this one. He loved that I could actually kind of craft out, because he wasn't a musical guy. He wasn't somebody sit at a piano and go, well, if you sing the major or minor third or sing the ninth or the 13th, I knew all that stuff by then.
Yeah.
So he remembered me. He was really impressed, and even his engineer Eddie Delano, great engineer, mixing engineer. They worked together on all the records that Tom did before he retired. So the next one was Steelheart. Steelheart was recording their second record. Got the call. Hey, I need you for background vocals. Lita Ford, Dangerous Curves, need you for backing vocals. Babylon AD's second record, backing vocals. The last album I did for it and with him was a band called Pariah.
Tamaka Killingbird.
Exactly, from Austin, Texas. And I'll never forget the guitar player. I think he committed suicide somewhere along the way as well. I remember sitting in the studio, and this cute young girl was in the studio. His girlfriend was with them. You know, they were a young band. It was all new. They were in Hollywood, freaking out. Did the backing vocals. They were really nice. They were sweet. And then years later, I go to find out that that young sweet girl sitting in the chair watching us record, Renee Zellweger.
Oh yeah, shit.
Yeah, she was dating the guitar player for Pariah at the time.
Damn. Okay.
So funny. So anyway, that was the last thing I did with Tom in '95. He retired, bought a B&B in Maine. It's like, I don't want to do music anymore. Maybe I'll write my memoirs, but that's about it. He got pulled back in when they were doing the Rockstar soundtrack. In 2000, they were making the soundtrack. They knew they needed an 80s producer. They didn't want somebody who was current, that's not going to have that sound, that was able to represent that sound. Because here we are in the 2000s, they don't want a new modern guy that's like, no, that doesn't sound 80s at all. So they talked him into it. And one of the things, when I got the call to audition for it, he said, you know, I worked with you so many times as a backing vocalist, and I thought someday I want to work with this guy as a lead singer. This might be that time. I went and I did, I think stand-up was the first one I did. And then they had me singing on everything because they didn't know what character my voice would be. Originally, I thought I was singing for Mark Wahlberg. Okay. When the director heard me, he said, this guy's great, but he sounds too seasoned. He sounds too like he knows what he's doing. We need a singer who sounds young, sounds like they're still, they don't have their feet wet yet. And that's why they got Millie to do, because Millie was younger than me, but he also had a younger kind of approach to his singing. So that's why his voice worked for Mark Wahlberg. My voice worked for the older, mature singer, the original singer for Steel Dragon.
And that movie comes out right around when 9/11 happens.
Same weekend. Movie came out September 7th or 8th. Yeah. And 3 days later, the world stopped. Yeah. So before it even had a chance to find an audience or gain some kind of traction, it was gone. The whole everything, music, movies, everything just went down.
Oh,
nobody was even in the mood to go to movies or watch a band or even think about it. You know, that yeah, it was. It's something that we had to live through, the same way people in the '40s had to live through Pearl Harbor and have to remember what happened there. It was so fresh to them. That was our Pearl Harbor.
It's become like a cult classic, though. I mean,
Yeah.
people still
Thank God. Yeah.
yeah.
Thank God for that, because I love the movie. Yeah, of course it's a bit hokey at times or whatever, but I love the soundtrack. I love what we did on it. And I love the fact that eventually it became a cult classic, because from that to this day, I still do stand up on my shows. Even the band Soul Circus, which we haven't even tapped into Neil Schon and Journey yet, which we'll get into. Even we did the song stand up live in our live set, because it's just a fun song to do. Sammy Hagar wrote it.
Yeah.
Sammy was happy. He's getting the extra royalties from it, and I get to sing a Sammy Hagar song. Awesome.
Oh yeah. Okay, so speaking of Soul Circus,
Yeah.
with Neil Schon, Marco Mendoza, Dean Castronovo starts out the project on drums, and that's your gateway into Journey. So let's talk about Soul Circus. How do you get hooked up with Neil Schon and get into this?
2004 January, I get a call from my friend Andrew McNeese. He runs a site in
Melodic Rock.
Tasmania, melodicrock.com, out of Tasmania, which is near Australia, part of Australia down there. And he said, and I've known Andrew for a long time. We've been good friends. And the way I discovered his site is a friend of mine said, "Hey, there's a website that talk a lot about you. They talk about your bands, Talisman and all that. You should check it out." So not only did I check it out, I was writing to people, and I became a regular presence, I guess, on there.
Yeah.
But also, Neil Schon was also visiting the site a lot, and he was also, why every time I look on here, this Jeff Scott Soto, who is this guy? He told me this later. He always see my name popping up on there, but he had no idea who I was, and he didn't do any kind of digging or research. The name just stuck in the back of his head. In 2003, Neil and Sammy and Michael and Dean had a band called Planet Us. It was an offshoot. It was basically half Journey, half Van Halen. They were going to start a whole new thing. And then Sammy got the call to come back into Van Halen. Sorry, Neil. I got to do this. You'd be stupid not to do it. I'm going to do it. But they'd already been working on songs. They'd been trying to get everything going. Neil, at that point, after Hardline, he realized, you know what? Journey's great, but I want something. I'm not putting Journey down by any stretch, but I want something with more balls. Right. I want something more guitar driven, more hard rock driven. The Journey stuff is great, but it's more melodic rock. It's more, Steve Perry had the nice, lighter, higher voice. I want something with grit, like Hardline. Like he had that, kind of wanted a new Hardline kind of thing, and they already had that going with Sam. So he reached out to Andrew in January 2004, said, "Who is this Jeff Scott Soto?" Andrew, he sold me, like he pimped me out, like I paid him. Like I said, whatever you got to do, make sure Neil Schon gives me that call. He did that without me even knowing. And then he called me and said, "Hey, Neil Schon's going to be calling you. I hope you don't mind." I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" Of course. So Neil calls me. We talk about Planet Us. We talk about the fact that I already knew Sam was going back. And he says, "Yeah, I want to continue this idea. Dean and I want to continue forward. So I need to get a singer and a bass player. And I keep hearing about your name, and maybe we can meet up and just talk and see if we got something here." And this is just before the NAMM show. I go, "Are you in LA anytime soon?" He said, "I'm going to NAMM show next week." I go, "Yeah, me too." It was perfect. I'm supposed to do something for Gibson. They're throwing a party, and after party in the evening, and we can maybe put a little set list together, some songs. Do you have any other musicians we can use? I go, my band are all going to be there. We can use my band and whatever you want to do. We did a Zeppelin song, a couple Journey songs. Cool. Just jamming. On my laptop, I still have that sound check where we were going over the songs. Neil, he was impressed. From that day forward, he goes, "Yeah, let's do this. We're going to do this." He met Marco at NAMM that year. Marco was his guy. We also met Mike Mangini there that year. I kind of knew him. I kind of met him before, but Neil never knew of him. And I said, "Dude, that guy is no joke. He's like Steve Smith level."
Yeah.
And he knows, if you know how good Steve Smith is outside of what he did for Journey, you know that's good.
Yeah.
He goes, yeah, we should check that guy out. Didn't work out when it was no, I'm sorry, because Dean was already part of it. But when I told him who he was, I go, that guy's like Smith level. So it stayed in the back of his head.
Yeah.
We wrote, got the first album done. We got the first songs done. We recorded everything at Jonathan Cain's place. And then they were starting to book us shows. Warner Brothers is going to release it. It's not going to be a major deal. I'm paying for it, and they're just going to release it, and they're going to see if it happens, then they'll get behind it, blah, blah, blah.
Sure.
But let's go out there and let's prove that the real band. Great. So we booked the first rehearsal. Me and Marco flew up to San Francisco, and Dean came to rehearsal just looking like somebody killed his dog. He was with his wife. He just looking like he was about to cry. I'm like, dude, what's wrong? And he was like, guys, I'm so sorry. I can't do this. I'm so burnt out from Journey. I'm so tired, and I haven't spent any time with my family. I can't imagine starting a whole new band that we're going to build and play as much as we can, and then I got to go back to Journey. I need some time off. I'm sorry. I'm going to have to pull out of this. I'm like, oh, man. So me and Marco up there about, do we go home? Or Neil's like, if you guys can hang, I say we call some drummers and we keep this thing going.
Yeah.
Great. So one of my best friends at the time, a guy named Ben Carey, he played for a band Lifehouse.
Oh yeah.
He told me, because I told a couple people that knew him, and he heard about that Dean was out. He goes, mate, you got to try out my friend. He's a great drummer from Australia, and he's ridiculous. I go, yeah, but we already have Ray Luzier. I called Ray Luzier. He's coming up. Marco got Tommy Clofidis coming up because he worked with him with Ted Nugent. And he goes, mate, you got to check out my guy, Virgil Donati. He's amazing. I'm like, well, let's just add him on there. I told Neil let's just fly those three in. We sent them the songs. They had literally one day to listen to them. We're going to jam on like 2 or 3 songs.
Yeah.
Ray was first. Destroyed. He was so good. I love Ray Luzier. I would go to my grave to fight for that guy as a drummer. He's so good.
Yeah.
But I think he was a little too heavy for Neil.
Yeah.
Neil, as much as Neil wanted something heavier, he thought maybe Ray was too much of a metal drummer for us. I disagreed, but I think Ray would have been great. Okay, so then next up, and I'll tell you the last part of the story. So next up was Tommy. Tommy again, fantastic. Just played everything perfectly, just killed. But everything was at 11. As soon as he started playing, there was you turn it to 11. The dynamics weren't going back and forth as a drummer should. The swing, the swag, the grease, the groove, all that. Everything was like,
yeah,
blow your head off. Great. But again, Neil wanted diversity. He wanted dynamics.
Yeah.
So Tommy went back in the other room. Next up was Virgil. It was over.
Yeah.
And even when I talked to Ray, I think a couple of days after, he said when me and Tommy were sitting in the other room and you guys were getting ready for us to come in and play. In walks Virgil Donati. We looked at each other, goes, yep, we might as well go home now. He knew. And there's something about, because Virgil comes from a very prog world. He comes from a world of music and time signatures I can't even resonate or register.
Yeah.
But for some reason he played our stuff with grease and groove, and it had more of a 70s vibe, and that's what made Neil go, that's our guy, big time.
Yeah.
So then the band was completed.
So you put out the World Play album. Was it always meant to just be a one-shot deal, or
no?
Okay.
It was meant to be not only. I think at that point, again, I'm speaking out of what I think might have happened or what might have been going on with Neil. I'm not paraphrasing him whatsoever, but I think at that point he was kind of ready to move on from Journey in terms of the same old, I have to play Don't Stop Believing, Who's Crying Now. That I think he just wanted something new and fresh and something exciting and energetic and young.
Yep.
So when he thought he was going to have that with Sammy and Michael on Planet Us, he wanted that now with Soul Circus. So he invested a lot of money, a lot of time, his entire downtime from the Journey tour, from the last one to the next one, was all Soul Circus. He dumped a lot of money into it that didn't really come back because it didn't resonate as big as we'd hoped with the people.
Okay.
People showed up. It was okay, but out of the gate, it wasn't as big as powerful of an impact as we thought it was going to be.
Okay.
So from that, I think Neil was a little disappointed. Like, oh man, we can't do another run like this and dump another drop of money. And if people aren't digging it off the jump, I think we're going to have to put this on the shelf. So that was the idea. And we just kind of, pun intended, we went our separate ways. It was a year later, it was in 2006, where they started the Def Leppard. No, before the Def Leppard tour, they were doing their shows, and Jerry was experiencing his issues, having to rely on Dean to finish songs or finish certain lines or take over, whatever. And the band were like, we can't do an entire tour like this. We need to send Steve home to rest. If we cancel the tour, everybody loses. Def Leppard, they're banking on this. This is millions of dollars. Fans are pissed off because they want to see Journey and Def Leppard. It's a lose-lose for everybody. So they wanted to try a couple things, but I remember getting a call from Neil. He's go, dude, you might need to pack your bags and come out here and save this tour. I said, you call it. I'm there with that. I'm there in seconds. I don't even have to pack a bag. I'll just come in. You kidding me? It's like Queen. I'll pay you to be in this band.
Yeah.
So when I got the call saying we tried a couple things, Steve has to go home and rest. We thought maybe we'll put somebody else on drums and Dean confront us. So tonight we're going to try something. Dean's going to sing one song in the front and his drum tech's going to play drums just on that one song so we can feel it out. Dean said, I'll never do that ever again. Don't ever do that to me again. He said, my knees were trembling. He was so nervous. He goes, I'll sing all night behind the kit. That's my fortress. Yeah. I have my force field. Yeah. You put me on the stage, I feel like I'm naked and everybody's staring at me. No way, man. I'm not a front man. So that's when they tried it. The next day, I remember it was July 4th. I was out in the street watching fireworks with my family, and I get a call from management. Yeah, we got you on a flight. You're flying out tomorrow morning to meet the band in Washington, D.C. or Fairfax, Virginia or something like that. And I was their hired gun, get through the tour singer. That eventually led to me being a permanent member of the band.
So you finished the tour with Def Leppard, and then they make you the permanent member of the band.
Yeah.
So they know you. They know what you're like live. They live with you. And I know you've covered this before, but it's just really confusing that they would go through all of that and make you a permanent member and then let you go in May of 2007.
Well, it all comes back to what I said earlier about Yngwie. They know what they want. It's their band. They know exactly what they're looking for, what they want. If there's something along the way, especially maybe not early on, if there's something that either rubs them the wrong way or they hear, oh, that's not sounding as good as we thought, or whatever the situation is, it's absolutely their right to say,
of course,
you know what, it's not going to work for us. We need to move on. Yeah, it maybe could have been done a different way, and I'm not going to hearken on that anymore. I've had enough negativity and clickbait from this conversation, but the bottom line is they made the decision of what they thought was best for them and their band. It's their band, and I eventually had to come to terms with it, and I respect it to this day now, where Neil and I are back to in speaking terms and everything's cool, and I don't want anything negative to go in between us ever again. I've said it in many an interview. Yep. I'm at the age where I'm watching my peers, I'm watching my heroes dropping off. I'm watching family and friends dropping off because we're at that age where you're expecting it more and more. Yep. I don't want to leave this earth with one enemy. Even Yngwie, I want to make amends at some point, somehow, some way. I need to make sure that I walk off this planet where everybody has something good to say about me. I don't want one negative or bad thing left on this planet while I'm gone and dead. I just don't want it. So if there's any animosity, is there any peace to be made, I want it to be done because that's how I truly feel in my heart. It's not because for any aesthetic reasons or any other reasons except for I want peace and harmony. So when I rest, I truly rest in peace.
Yeah. And I saw an interview you said 2 years ago that you said you patched thing up with Neil and Jonathan Kane. I just
Jonathan, no, I haven't spoken to
oh,
him,
okay.
and I went to the couple times I've seen them. There was no effort into
Okay.
whether he knew I was there or not. There was no effort into saying hello, but we never really had that closeness. Even when I was in Journey during that time, I was with the guys. Jonathan was he was the one that was evasive. He
Okay.
was the one that kind of kept me at arm's distance because he always saw me as a metal guy. He heard Soul Circus was more hard rock. He he knew I sang stand up. He saw me. He never saw me as an R&B crooner or Steve Perry contemporary.
Yeah.
But what he didn't know is I was into Sam Cooke before I was into Steve Perry.
Totally.
I sang both of those voices all my life. I sang Steve Perry. It's so in my DNA. It's so embedded in me. If he truly knew the level of R&B and the level of what Steve Perry actually did for me as a singer, I think it would have had a little different feel, but only because my background. You look at my catalog, you look at what I've done.
Yep.
It's a lot more of this than there is what he's known for.
There's clips of you in Journey live, and it's fucking good. Pardon my language.
Thanks.
You did record a song with them, "Wins
Yeah.
for Freedom." It's on YouTube. So, I mean, you obviously got into some sort of songwriting process while you were in the band.
Well, that was a song.
I mean, I'm
That's
sure
a
it's a
weird song.
Jonathan song, right? I
It's
mean,
a strange song because first of all, it was never meant to be released. It was never meant to be a Journey song.
okay.
Jonathan wrote it because my very last show with him did not know it was eventually be my last show with him. It was a gig booked within all the other gigs. We were doing a show for America's Cup. It was a Birthday for America polo match.
Yep.
And the organizers that brought us in, they were part of this big polo match they do every year, and they always bring in a big band for the festivities, fireworks, and all that at the end of the night. Jonathan thought we're doing it's such an important event as Americans, as patriots, to go in there instead of just doing our set. Why don't I write something kind of like a history lessons kind of song? Um, we built our legacy from the Pilgrims and they came to the shores, and it's a history lesson within a Journey song. Musically, it sounds like Journey, but the lyrics like that doesn't sound like anything that would be on a Journey record because it wasn't meant to be. But he wanted to work it up so we could do that one time, one and only time we're going to play that song at this gig.
Okay.
We wrote it for you specifically for the show. We're going to do this and you'll never hear it again. So it was one of those things. So clearly we had to demo it, record it. Jonathan did all the tracks. Neil put some guitars on it and then sent it down to me. And I gave it my treatment and I tried to parry the shit out of it. I remember even Jonathan afterwards going, man, I love all the parryisms you put in this. Because all those the little things that I still do even in my own songs because I
Right.
can't help it. Perry was such an influence.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is what it is in terms of how it came out. It's
a good
unfortunate
song.
that that's the only Journey song, original song that I got to sing on. That's not really a Journey song, but hey, at least I could say I did it.
Yep. Okay. Apparently, on December 30th, you're coming to Fargo, North Dakota, where I am, with Trans-Siberian Orchestra.
Yes,
And
sir.
you've been with them since 2008. I mean, that's kind of
Officially 2007.
2007.
Officially 2007.
So what can how does that come about? You working with John Oliva and I'll stop there, but
I wish my stories were short. I really do because we can get everything within an hour and you get so much information. But when you leave out the details, it's so boring. To say, yeah, my buddy called me and I just happened to work out. I got audition, got the gig. That's boring.
yeah.
It's
No,
the devil in the details.
tell the story because I mean, shoot, the Greg Jafria interview, I mean, it's got like close to 10,000 views, I think, which is pretty, and that's my longest. So I'm in
Well, we're about 20 minutes shy of nearing that because that was over 3 hours.
but I cut off like an hour because
No.
we talked about his business shit and all sorts of other shit. It was 4 hours and 15 minutes that we actually talked.
Okay, well, let's not waste any more time.
Okay.
I've known Al Petrelli since 1990. Al Pitrelli, guitar player, Megadeth, Alice Cooper, blah, blah, blah. Trans-Siberian Orchestra, Sabotage. When I met him in 1990, it was the last show I did with Beeler in Talisman. We did a festival in Sweden, and Alice Cooper were the headliners. In Alice Cooper's lineup in that band was Al Pitrelli, Eric Singer. I forgot who else was in there. But anyway, I met Al that night, and I'll never forget it because when we were backstage, I'm like, oh my God. After a month and a half on tour in Sweden, the fruit, I finally with Americans, hey, fuck you, hey, what's going on? Yeah, I'm hanging with my people, you know. So I meet Al and we clicked immediately. We hit it off immediately. Okay, I had Jason Beeler with me, but Beeler was too busy making everybody laugh and being silly boy. I wanted to be with my boys, you know. So when I met Al, it's like we've known each other all our lives. And we hung out at the bar that night after the show. We got to be friends. Through the years, I run into him like every couple years. I saw him at a photo shoot in LA, and then we'd run into each other here and there and whatever. But there were year spans that we saw each other. We weren't really good friends. When we see each other, it was like we're long lost buds. And that's what I love about our bond. To this day, he says we've been best friends for over 30 years because that's what it felt like when we first met.
Yep.
So it literally was the day after. Oh, no, let's go back to 2001. The guitar player from Redless was getting married, went to his wedding. I didn't know he knew Al. Al and his wife were in attendance as well. Oh, hey, Al, good to see you. I haven't talked to you in years. What are you up to, as we normally do?
Yeah.
The past few years, I'm working with this thing called Trans-Siberian Orchestra. Oh, I think I've heard of that. But this is 2001. Now, TSO started in 96.
Yeah.
So they didn't even start doing the East and West split bands until I think maybe 2000.
Okay.
Maybe it was 2000 because the first tour was only a week long. It was only like 3 shows. The second tour was 2 weeks long. And then it started growing and expanding and getting bigger and bigger. By the time I saw him in 2001, I think that was the first year they split the band into 2, the East Coast and West Coast band.
Okay.
So he's explaining, it's classical music, but with hard rock guitars and wearing tuxedos. And in my head, of course, I'm trying to be nice, but I'm thinking, my God, that sounds lame. That sounds awful. I'm like, good to see you, bro. Good luck with that. I walked away going, oh man, poor guy. Little did I know. Poor guy. So here we are. That was 2001. It's the last time I saw or heard from Al. I hadn't seen him in a pack of years. Now, 2007, the day after I get fired from Journey, 6 years after the last time I saw Al, phone rings. What? How do you get my number? And I'm in mourning mode. I feel like the whole life, my blood has been taken out, my organs been taken out. I'm just like lifeless.
Sure.
Oh my God, what the hell happened?
Sure.
So I get a call from Al. I goes, hey man, he didn't even know. He did not know that about the Journey thing. But he just said, hey, I'm just calling you because remember that TSO thing I told you about? Well, it's grown to proportions I can't even tell you. And in between the holiday albums that we've done 2 non-holiday records, and we're working on the 3rd one called Night Castle. Yeah. Now, my boss and producer, founder of TSO, Paul O'Neill, he's tried everybody under the sun for the lead character, the lead voice, because with TSO, you're characters.
Yeah.
He said, I brought your name up. He goes, just Scott Soto, but he's a tenor, isn't he? And Al goes, no, he's a baritone with tenor tendencies. If you want him to sing high, he can sing high, but he's a baritone. Really? Because he needed a baritone.
Yeah.
So he goes, are you interested in flying in and checking it out? I go, are you kidding me? The timing couldn't be any better. And I told him I just got literally not even 24 hours ago, I was let go from Journey.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, bro, I'm so sorry, blah, blah, blah. Moved on forward. Not even a week later, I was in Tampa meeting Paul O'Neill for the first time. And I'll never forget it. Walked into the studio, said hello to Paul. He was in the middle of, he was always in the middle of 80 different things. I've never seen anybody multitask like him and still get everything done like him. So I got in the studio. My call time was like 4:00. I say, okay, Jeff, I'm sorry. I got to get this done. Can you, are you nocturnal? Oh, what do you mean? What, can you stay up late? I go, yeah. I go, first of all, LA time. So 3 in LA is only midnight for me. That's very easy. Oh, great. Can you come back around 11 tonight? 8 hours later, and then we can go over this stuff. Yeah, sure. I went back to the hotel, watched the movies, hit the gym, went back to the studio at 11, was just down the street from the hotel. He goes, okay, great. Yeah, now we can focus. He goes, okay, here's the song. And he gave me the lyrics and just kind of give me a little insight on the song and the character. And he goes, okay, I just want to hear your voice on this, boss. Okay, cool. So I went back. I went to the studio, got my levels, and I remember it like it was yesterday because Paul O'Neill, he must have had some kind of psychic telekinetic powers because it was dark in the studio. The only light in the studio was the little light on the music stand that was showing my lyrics. No light on me, just a microphone. I'm in the dark, complete darkness, because he felt you get passion from that when you're not looking around. You're just focused on darkness and the microphone in front of you.
Yeah.
So I remember I had my hands in my pockets and rolls the song, and I start singing the first 2 or 3 lines, and he stops it. Did I mess up? No. You did. You got everything right, but your voice, it sounds like you're just standing in there with your hands in your pockets and not really you're not in the groove. I'm like, I took hands out slowly. I'm like, oh, okay. He goes, come in for a second. A second turned into 4 hours. Basically, we went over the Chinese dynasty. We went over World War II, World War I, the Vietnam War. We're talking about Braveheart. We're talking about Mel Gibson's face in certain scenes and how a face tells 1,000 words. You don't need words to describe how you're feeling. He needs all of that in the context of a song. And then he gave me the entire story of Night Castle. And it's a brilliant story from beginning to end. If you wrote it as a book, it would, or watched it as a movie, it would be phenomenal. I love the backstory. But by having all of this discussion and then having the backstory of the character and the person I was singing for, he said, now go in there and let me hear you, boss. I knocked it out, and he goes, I found my character. I found my singer. And I'll never forget it, the way he made me feel so, because I told him from day one, I said, man, I'm not a musical theater guy. I'm not a Broadway guy. The only musical theater I've ever liked in my life was West Side Story. I'm Puerto Rican. Of course, you got to like West Side Story. But I just said, man, I don't know if I'm the guy for this. He goes, Jeff, you have something in you don't even know you have. I hear it. I know I can bring it out in you. I want you to do this with me. And I sang those 5 songs on Night Castle. So that was in 2007. Okay. And I needed Paul O'Neill in so many ways. Was I get choked up now because he's not with us anymore. Even if he's still with us, I would choke up because he truly saved me from going into a really deep, dark depression. At that point in Journey, I got let go without knowing any real reasons. What did I do? I didn't really know what the reasons were. So I was doubting myself. I was feeling really down and low. And Paul O'Neill was my savior at that point. He really brought me back to life by pulling me in and making me part of that album. And then obviously after that year, he wanted me to go see the West Coast, and he flew me out to Cleveland to see the East Coast. I want you to see this because I would eventually want you to be part of the touring portion of TSO. You wouldn't be singing any songs from Night Castle because obviously they're not holiday songs, but I want you to be part of this on the live front. And I said, Paul, I'm with you on this. And from day one, I've been, like I said, since 2007. This is 25, and I'm going out again. The singers have come and gone. I'm the second longest singer in there. The only other long singer that's still there was there the year before me, and his first year he completed his first tour when I actually went to go see them. When I got to see them in LA in 2007, that was his first tour. So when I came in 2008, that was his second year. Okay, and he's still there with me. So we're the 2 longest running singers in TSO history, which is pretty cool.
How many shows a year do you usually play with TSO?
When I went in, we used to go into January, which was a bit much. It was tiring, and it's for us, I mean, we joked about it, of course, in front of management, even in front of Paul. It's kind of weird going on stage singing "Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas." That's what we said. Happy New Year, Happy New Year. It's kind of weird to be singing
Yeah.
Merry Christmas in January, but so we stopped going into January, I think, after my third year in, and now we start in November. It's roughly about 54 shows total in 2 months.
Okay.
The first tour was 72.
Okay.
It's crazy.
Okay, you put out 4 records with W.E.T, which is members of Work of Art, Eclipse, and you, Talisman. You guys don't tour, but it's, I think, the president now, like Serafino or whatever, the guy from Frontiers. I think what leads
He spearheaded that. Yeah,
he spearheaded that. So
we were the first of his many supergroup incarnations.
Yep.
And that came about because he just signed Eclipse. Eclipse only had one record at that point. He just finished the Work of Art album, which was brilliant. The records they made were so good. But he loved the AOR and hard rock vibe that both those bands had. And he knew Talisman had both those elements in us naturally. Yep. He said, I wonder what would come out of putting these 3 guys from 3 different bands together. And it was a culmination of that. It wasn't a super group. It was just and it couldn't be a super group because back then nobody knew who those guys were. Yeah. And I'm not patting myself on the back saying, well, I was the only reason. It wasn't that at all. He just wanted to see what it would sound like for us to be together. And clearly I was the only one with a kind of a name at that point where he could use that to push the agenda. And yeah, those guys wrote all the songs, all the lyrics, all the melodies, they sent it to me. I just had to put my voice on it and left it at that. Again, it was supposed to be like Talisman, a one-off. Let's just see what it sounds like, what it would be like. And I remember singing it, not thinking twice about it. Next thing you know, it went bananas. Everybody loved it, went crazy for it.
Yeah.
Let's do a second record. Let's do a third album. And so, yeah, it turned into one of these things that we do it when we're all free and available and we're able to do it. And we enjoy doing it because we enjoy each other's company. We enjoy each other's talents. Yeah. And yeah, we had a blast making these records.
And the last one came out, Apex came out this year. So,
and we brought in Jamie Borger, the drummer from Talisman in. Yeah. So it truly is a true pairing of all of us. The only one that didn't have somebody else in the band touring with us and playing with us was the Work of Art side. It was only Robert. He never brought in his bass player or whatever because in W.E.T we always use Magnus on lead guitar. He's in Eclipse, and originally we used the original drummer Robin on drums in W.E.T. So it was mostly Eclipse. Okay. But on the videos for the first album, I brought in Marcel, even though the bass was done by Eric Martinson in the studio. I said, well, if we're gonna make videos, we don't have a bass player. Why don't we bring Marcel in just to represent the Talisman side of the T in the name W.E.T? And that was the last time I saw Marcel live, actually, because we did those videos in 2009 before the album came out, and I saw him there. We did the videos, and then it was a couple months later they took his life.
Yeah. Okay, in 2017, you put out your
I know where this is going.
Sons of Apollo. You got Billy Sheehan, a couple guys from Dream Theater, Bumblefoot. I mean, holy fuck. So pardon my language. Where does that come from?
I said the same thing.
Because that's a hell of a lineup to be joining. Like, who came up with
I need to combine my other band, another very, very important project in my life, my band Soto. Yeah. Now I've done solo albums. Yep. And the only reason why the band is called Soto, it's supposed to be just its own name. It's not supposed to have my name on it, aside of me being the lead singer. But it was my manager at the time that said, when we got the deal for the first album, I told him, man, he said, I was going at it as a solo album. Yeah. And he said, this doesn't sound like a solo album. This sounds like a band record. I need a name. I need to sell this as a band. I said, oh, geez, another name. I've got how many projects and names and bands, another one people have to get used to. He goes, keep it simple. Call it Soto, Dokken, Dio, Van Halen, Vandenberg. Use your last name, Winger. It's a band. They're bands, but they just have the name of somebody in the band.
Yep.
Okay, and I went with it. So most people think when they book Soto, they're booking Jeff Scott Soto. And then other people think when they're booking Jeff Scott Soto, they're booking Soto. So it gets a little convoluted at times. So that's why I had to separate and have different lineups for both entities. I couldn't use all the guys in Soto to do Jeff Scott Soto's shows anymore.
Right.
It was during our 2016 tour in South America. We got offered, it was the same promoter, really good friend of mine and the band's in Brazil. He also did Winery Dogs back then. He was doing their upcoming tour, and he said, "Hey man, instead of me booking your shows, Winery Dogs is going to be here around the same time we're booking the rest of your shows. Are you interested in opening for them?" Of course.
Yeah.
I'd do that in a heartbeat because we'd be playing bigger places, and I love the band. They were on their they were on the Hot Streak tour.
Okay.
So and Dave Z knew Mike Portnoy from back east. I knew Billy since '85 when we toured together. Mike and I met each other a handful of times, didn't really know each other. I knew Derek kind of the same. Bumblefoot never met before, but during that time, it was still an outfit called was it PSMS? It was Portnoy, Sherinian, McAlpine, and Sheehan.
Okay.
So they had a kind of a fusion jazz proggy instrumental thing that they were doing already. And when we did the tour opening up for Winery Dogs, Soto, I remember Portnoy was standing on the side of the stage a couple times watching the band. I thought, oh, that's kind of cool. He's probably there watching his buddy Dave because they've known each other a long time, checking out the band.
Yeah.
I found out later he was actually checking me out because after that tour was done, said goodbye to everybody. I'd known Richie Kotzen for I don't know how many decades at that point. Yeah. Everybody knew each other. So everybody's friends. And I remember flying, I was at the airport. I was flying to TSO rehearsals. This was in October, no, it was November 2017. Get a call from Mike Portnoy. "Hey bro, just want to wish you a happy birthday, and I'm going to call you in a couple of days and let you know what your birthday present is." "What? You're getting me a birthday? I barely know you're getting me a birthday, right? This is awesome." He goes, "Yeah, I'll let you know." I'm thinking, what, is he going to give me like gold-plated drumsticks? Or what is Mike Portnoy going to give me? So he calls me when I'm at rehearsals, and he explains, he goes, "You've heard of this thing, PSMS, that I've got going, this instrumental thing. We've done 2 albums, instrumental, and we want to do a third, but we want to put vocals on it. And you're the guy, we've handpicked you to be the guy. Should you want to take on this mission? It's like Mission Impossible."
Yeah.
And I said, "Dude, without hearing a single song, I'm so there." Because I thought, this is amazing. I love to do something with Portnoy. He's one of the world's revered drummers, and everybody knows and loves this guy's playing, and I love it. Whatever. I was over the moon. How many years I've been dreaming of doing something with Billy since we've known each other since '85. We toured together with Talisman, Rising Force.
Yeah.
And McAlpine, finally I get to do something with Tony. I should have been on the album, the Driver thing with Rudy and Tommy, but now we finally do something together. So, dude, this is it. We'll start sending songs. And so, no. I'm sorry. This was 2016, November 2016. Because I remember 2017, we were taking the year off because we were going to start working on the album Sons of Apollo, and because that's the reason why David joined the Adrenaline Mob. He asked for my blessing to do that. He goes, "Dude, are we doing anything? Because these guys want to tour and they're asking me to join the band, but I'm really worried that you're going to be pissed off." I go, "Are you kidding me? I champion you guys doing different things and doing things to flex your muscles and do stuff. Yeah. Absolutely, go for it. I'm going to be busy writing the new album and whatever." And so they started sending me ideas. Man, I'm wondering, should I go here? I think I'm going to go here.
Go here.
I'm going to give you something that I've never ever spoken on record with anybody ever. Only my friends and close ones know.
Okay.
They sent me a few ideas that they were working on that Derek was just working on at home, and they weren't real demos. It wasn't the full band yet. By the time they started sending me stuff, they said, "We're going to be having Bumblefoot in the band instead of McAlpine because he's more of a rock guy." And we realized if we want to be more rock instead of crazy jazz fusion and crazy, it's like Dream Theater and Bluetooth. It might be cooler to be a little more grounded, a little more not commercial, but a little more accessible. Not be a Dream Theater cover, a copycat. So great. I don't know who Ron is. I've never met him. Whatever, but sounds good. So they sent me a couple things just to listen to. This is the direction we're going. So, oh, this is awesome. And me, just in my normal way of thinking, I always want to impress. I always want that extra foot in the door. I want that extra inch ahead of the game.
Yeah.
So I want to show people I'm really into things. I'm really into it. I'm putting my heart and soul. I'm your guy. I'm committed. I'm loyal and all that stuff. I want you to see and hear that. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to take these little clippings. I'm going to write melodies and lyrics just to send it to them to show that I'm already thinking of. I'm already on top of this, guys.
Yeah.
Check this out. Check this out. So I decided I did like 2 or 3 songs, and I said, here you go. I've already started dabbling with this. I'm, oh my God, we didn't expect this. We didn't send it for you to do that, but cool. Thanks for sending it. We'll let you know what we think. First day, nothing. Second day, nothing. Fourth day, nothing. Fifth day, I got an email from one of the guys in the band. I'm not going to throw anybody under the bus.
Okay.
Sorry, Jeff. Sorry we didn't get back sooner. But the clippings that you sent us, we realized maybe you're not the guy for this. I was fired from the band before I even got a chance to prove myself. Nobody knows this. They let me go.
Okay.
Because they didn't think I was the right guy based on what I sent them. Because again, in my head, instead of thinking just be me, just do what I normally would do and treat these songs when I'm writing them, I thought, damn, we got a guy from Guns N' Roses, got a guy from Mr. Big, got a guy from Dream Theater. I want to take a piece of all these different bands and put them all in one ball of wax and see what that sounds like. So that's what I sent them.
Yeah.
Didn't sound like Jeff Scott Soto. It sounded like me trying to be a culmination of, if you put all those bands in one little mix and put all those singers and their styles in one thing, it's not what they wanted at all. Okay. So they let me go.
Okay.
And I guess they even played it to the label because apparently the label said, "Ooh, yeah, this is not going to work." And literally heard from Mike Portnoy minutes after I got that email, because I wrote back to them, guys, I'm so sorry. I didn't want to make the same mistake I made with Journey in begging for an answer and what happened? What did I do? Somebody please call me. I just said, I just swallowed the big lump and said, I understand it's your band. You got to do what you got to do. As soon as, not minutes after I sent that, I got an email from Mike saying, bro, I'm so sorry. I'm the one that brought you into this thing. I still think you're the right one for this, but I was outvoted. But they just didn't hear what your involvement might be working right for this band. And I still want to do something with you in the future and blah, blah, blah. And I said, you know what, Mike, thanks for writing that because I feel a little better. It eases the blow a little more. But I got to tell you right now, just by you saying you still think I'm the guy for this band, I want to show you I'm the guy for this band. I want to take 2 of the songs, because by the time we advanced later, they already got some not demos, but they were recorded in the studio, but they weren't mixed. They were just rough mixes so I can get an idea of what the songs were coming out like.
Yep.
I already had those under my belt. I already had them in my possession. And I said, you know what, Mike, I'm going to take a couple of these songs and I just want to, just for me, I just got to do it for me. I'll send it to you. If you like it, cool. Whatever. I got to just do this for me. I got to therapeutically do what I would have done to these songs had I not been focusing on what not to do on the songs. Bro, that's a great idea. I champion that. I'm glad to hear that you really want to do this. And absolutely, if you want to do it, send it to me. I took the first song, Signs of the Time, wrote the lyrics, wrote the melodies, demoed it, sent it to Mike. Go, dude, are you fucking kidding me? This is amazing. This is bro, can you do another one? Sure. Skimmed through the songs. I took a live, wrote all the words, melodies, sent it to him, demoed it at home. Goes, bro, this is Forget about who we're checking out or who we're supposed to check out, who we're thinking of checking out. I got to play this to the band.
Okay.
Next day, email. Hi, Jeff. Welcome back to the band.
No
I
shit.
fought my way back into that band because I really wanted it, and I got it back.
Holy
You're the
shit.
first one I've ever told that to in a public way. Now everybody's going to hear about it.
I appreciate it because wow.
But it's a positive outcome. You know, in the end, it worked out,
Yeah.
and without throwing anybody under the bus, you know, it was a unanimous decision that I wasn't the right guy based on what I'd sent. But I can't blame them because when I listen back to what I did now, I go, "Oh my God, I would have fired me too."
Wow. So, well, you put out 2 albums and a live album so far, right? And then didn't Portnoy went back to Dream Theater? Is it still an entity or what's going on?
Well, that's the thing. We never said the band is over. We never officially broke up. There was no internal fights. There was no, I hate you. I'm never going to work with you again. I'm out of here. None of that.
Right.
So without any of that, there's no official closure. Right. So in my mind, in my heart, I'm holding on to that as a possibility that someday, one day,
okay,
I love that band with a passion. I haven't felt that passion and that loyalty and that love for a band since Talisman and my own band, Soto, of course. But my own band is my own band. That just comes from within. Right. To be in an outfit with other individuals that we started just out of thin air. Yes, we all have our careers and our successes, whatever, with other people, and that's why that thing worked together as a unit. But that thing was built together from the ground up. It wasn't somebody's writing my lyrics, somebody was, filling the guitar part. It was all crafted and created by us. So from that, I'm extremely proud of what we've done, even on just the 2 records. And I don't want to say that was the end of it. I hope one day, someday, it will come back to and do some more, even if it's just touring. I'm just so proud of that. We never even got to do the proper MMXX tour, the 2020 tour. Right. We did like a week and a half of shows in the US. We got to show number 3 in Europe, and then we pulled the plug, and that was the unofficial end of Sons of Apollo. And I it's not good with me.
No,
it doesn't. I don't want that whole thing to be over. I don't want it to end like that.
Right. Okay. How do you get hooked up with this crazy guy who played in Megadeth, which I think, people knowing that your melodic rock roots, it might sound surprising for you to hook up with a guy like that. And this shit is so heavy, but with your voice on it, I mean, it's the heaviness with that great melodic singing over it. So anyway, how does this come about?
Okay. First rewind. When you said everybody knows you as the melodic and this, that, and the other. Come on. I started with Yngwie Malmsteen. I've done Axel Rudi Pell. I've done metal. I've done maybe not this heavy and this extreme, but I've even tapped into this with Soto and even Sons of Apollo as far as the way I'm using my voice. Sure. So it's a no-brainer that clearly I can go from 0 to 120 and everything in between, and I proved that. And that's one of the things I'm really proud of, is that I can sing Journey or I can sing Metallica. Which one do you want? Yeah. So from that, thank you, pandemic, for pairing me with my friend David Ellefson, who I only got to see once a year when he came to visit us at TSO in Phoenix. Come to say hello to his old pal Al. And every time he's in Al's dressing room, hey, Junior's here. Come and say hello. That's the extent of my relationship with Ellefson up to that point. Yeah. Hello, pandemic 2020. We're all locked down. We're all at home. How long are we going to be here? How long? We don't know how long this shit's going to last. So I'm doing everything and anything. Music is my life, and now music is my therapy. From going stir crazy, from going completely broke, from just losing my mind. I dove into music, and I did so many sessions and so many different things. More material came out in the past 2 years because of the pandemic than I normally would have expected and normally would have wanted to do. But out of that, you had to do something to stay, just to keep your sanity. Yeah. Got a call from Ellefson saying, "Hey man, I got this song. I don't know what I'm gonna do with it. It's just a good song. I want to complete it. I'm not a good enough singer to sing it. The guys I'm working with, it's not the right voice for it. And my partner I'm writing with, Andy Martingelli, was saying, yeah, but I just we should get a different singer to do this. He goes, you should go Jeff Scott Soto. He goes, that's a good idea. Shit, I wonder if he'll do it. He goes, come on, Jeff loves you. Everybody loves you, David. Of course he'll do it. David reaches out, tells me exactly that. He goes, dude, I don't know. It's not an album. It's not. I could throw you a couple $100 if you want to just do the session for me. I go, yeah, man, no problem.
Yeah.
Put it in the schedule of all the things I already had planned to do.
Yeah.
And I gave this one a little more. I gave it a priority because it's Junior. Come on.
Yeah.
This guy's in Megadeth. Got to give it a priority.
Yeah.
So I knocked the song out, sent it to him like the day he sent it. He thought I was going to do it like next week or whenever I had time. I sent it literally that same day. Because, dude, this is amazing. Oh my God. Andy's going crazy. Can we send you another one?
Yeah.
Sure. What's this for? Because I don't know. I'm doing this project. It might be for that. I'm doing this other thing. Might be for that. I might give it to another band to cover. I don't know. We're just doing songs just to build up a catalog. Yeah. Okay. Send it. Did another one. Dude, this is amazing. This is awesome. And both these songs are on Vacation in the Underworld, the first album. So then he wants to do a third song. And now I'm starting to feel guilty. I'm like, dude, I can't take your money. You're doing these demos. They probably won't even surmise to anything. You don't have to pay me. I'll do them for you. Just send them to me. I'm stuck here anyway. I'm doing enough paid stuff. I'll knock these out for you.
Yeah.
And then there were even some he was sending. It's not really completed. Do you want to write lyrics? I can write them myself. But if you want to complete, yeah, I'll do that too. So now I'm getting involved in the writing. And we're on to something here to the point where after we got like 10 or 11 songs, David's like, dude, this is not for anybody else. This is not for any of my other projects or for another band. This sounds like us.
Yeah.
This sounds like something the world should hear what we sound like together. He's still in Megadeth at this point.
Yeah.
But he still wants to do this.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do it. So we finished the record. We complete it as a record, and then we finally get the deal going, and everything's a go. And we love the result of the record. We love the response of the record. Joe O'Brien, who runs Rat Pack Records, a boutique label. It's not in competition with any of the bigger indies or whatever, but I love what Joe does and how he does it. He's old school, the way he markets and brands things, the way he does. He's even doing cassettes. He's doing inlays, signatures, patches, buttons, all this stuff that we grew up with. Our favorite bands used to put out. He's still doing this because he still believes in the art of marketing a band. It's like, you know what? Let's do this. Let's do this. He loved it. We did a few shows together in Europe just to kind of get our feet wet to see if we had something. They were fun. And then we walked away from it going, maybe we could do another one day. And that one day came up late last year. It just came out of nowhere. Yeah. He sent me a song. Hey, me and Andy have been writing a bunch of songs. No, he sent me the Queen song. He sent me Death on Two Legs. That was the first one we did.
Yep. That's the last track.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so we did that. It's like, dude, we have so many songs. Would you be willing to do another record? Fuck yeah, let's do it. Yeah. And the songs, it's just knocking me out. Yeah. Dude, this is amazing. But the thing I loved about the way we were doing this album, he was already sending me a bunch of lyrics, but this time Andy was sending me melody ideas. He heard certain melodies. He goes, you can can them. This is just me thinking out loud. When I'm writing stuff, I naturally come up with ideas. I go, no, that's great, because I'm actually kind of dry right now. I've been doing so many sessions, so many albums, so many different things. I welcome things that give me something I might not have already come up with myself. Yeah. And from that, I came up with something even stronger than I would have done if they sent it as an open slate. Yeah. So I was happy to take their ideas and kind of work on them. I took Junior's lyrics. Some weren't incomplete. They were incomplete, or they didn't match syllabically with the melodies. Yeah. So I changed those, added some. Next thing you know, we had a whole new album done. But this album, I think, it's just eons above the first one. And the first one was good. Yeah. This one is, I don't really listen to albums I record. I record them and I move on in my life unless I have to learn them and get ready for a tour. Yeah. I kind of move. I don't really listen to my style. I don't really like the sound of my voice. I don't listen to my voice. Yeah. This album, for some reason, I listened to it a lot when we finished it. When we mixed it, Chris Collier, the mixing engineer, phenomenal job mixing it.
Yeah.
I
Heavy,
really dig it.
heavy as shit.
Yeah.
Great melodies. And the second single, which just came out, Vengeance, Tim Ripper
That's the
Owens.
third one. Third one.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, the
Third
first one was the Unbreakable,
Unbreakable.
and then second one was Shout, and then
Oh, okay.
Vengeance. Yeah.
Okay. So, but Ripper Owens is on that with you guys. So shit. Okay.
Yeah.
So, and did you like? Are you guys gonna play any shows or?
Well, I've kind of brought everybody down to earth, so to speak. The reality of touring, especially this day and age, especially now after the pandemic and the cost and everything's gone up. Everybody's complaining about cost and this, that, and the other. Bands are not touring as much because it's just too expensive to do.
Right.
Now we are still, for all intents and purposes, an unproven entity.
Right.
For us to go out and support the album live, it means we're going to have to play every grease pit, every shithole in existence just to show people we're a real band. We don't need to do that. We are a real band. We proved that by doing a second record. Now it's up to people, the demand of the people, demand of a promoter, demand of people that are willing to actually come to the shows, not just say, hey, play my city, and then 20 people show up. Hey, play my city, and 80 people show up. No. If there's a demand where it makes sense for us to be able to afford going on tour, because if we're going to play in front of 80 people, that ain't going to cut the expenses. No. We're going to go home making beer money at best.
Right.
We're not 20 years old sleeping on couches and sitting sleeping in a station wagon.
Of course.
We've, especially Junior and I, we've lived that really good life in terms of arenas and stadiums and tour buses and nice hotels. You get to a comfort level, you really don't want to go back down to the level of where you have to start and kind of, work your way up the ladder.
Yep.
So I told the guys, I'm sorry, but I'm not interested in the old station wagon, sleeping on couches, playing the 80 people thing. If this album gets enough interest and legs, and we start playing festivals and there's interest in that level, count me in. I'm 100% in. But if it's let's book a U.S. tour playing Joe's Crab Shack, I'm sorry, it ain't gonna be for me. So it's hard to answer that question until we see the residual of where this album lands and where the interest lands.
Yeah. Go buy it. Ellefson-Soto, Unbreakable.
Unbreakable.
Okay.
I think we covered everything. Jeez, I didn't think we were going to be able to cover everything.
And the last thing we haven't talked about solo albums. You put out 8 solo albums, and this is Jeff Scott Soto. This is not Soto. So, you put out Lost in Translation, Prism in 2002, Love Parade.
I have to correct you. Sorry, I got to cut you up and correct you. It's Lost in the Translation. The movie was called Lost in Translation, and I intentionally used that title, but I put the in there to separate it from the movie, and a lot of reviews was Lost in Translation. No, pay attention to details.
No.
It's Lost in the Translation. Yeah. But and I'll tell you, I'm sorry to cut you off.
No.
The reason I called it that title was a reflection of my career at that point in time. Okay. Because as we discussed for the past almost 4 hours now, I'm all over the map. Diversity with different styles, different genres, different feels, different whatever. When somebody tries to explain what I do and what I'm about, it gets lost in the translation. Yeah. Because you can't say I'm just a rock singer, a metal singer, an R&B singer. I'm all of the above. I should release an album called All of the Above, because my last solo album was called Complicated for the same reason. Yeah. I did an interview, and somebody was asking if I went to somebody to explain to them, they had no idea who you were. They said, "Who is Jeff Scott Soto? What style does he do?" What would I say to this person? I'd say you'd have to just say it's complicated.
Yeah.
Whoa, that's a good name for a title. That's a good title for an album.
Yeah.
So that's why that last album was Complicated, because Lost in the Translation, Complicated, these are terms that try to describe who and what I'm about, that you can't, because it gets lost in the translation. It's too complicated to try and describe it. Anyway, go on.
No, where does your musical heart, and I'm sure that's like asking you to pick your favorite kid.
Yeah.
Is your comfort level with your solo albums, is that where you're like, you know what? I'm the one responsible, or where does your comfort level lie in what you're doing musically these days?
I've come to the realization in answering this question. The realization is, of course, I can say I love it all. It's all as important as the next.
Yeah,
As far as I'm concerned, it is all as important. I feel the same passion for all of it,
sure.
but clearly I have to follow suit with the ones that actually resonate. If Sons of Apollo resonates, I'm 100% loyal and committed and following up with that. If
Yeah,
Soto resonates, so basically I'm dropping who I am, what I'm all about in every different format and every different band and project.
yeah,
Whichever one resonates the most and has the most legs and interest,
yeah,
it's as important to me as the one that flopped. But
yeah.
guess what? I'm going to follow through with that. I'm not going to go on the road with this one because nobody's going to show up. But if people show up for this one, I'm just as into that as I into the one that didn't work over so well. So they're all as important to me as the next one. But obviously, I have to follow. I have to follow through with the one that resonates the most with people.
Is there anything solo coming up, or
No.
is there? Okay, okay,
At the moment, Ellefson-Soto is the last and only thing I had going. I basically finished both W.E.T and Ellefson-Soto at the same time. We were kind of, I was finishing one, starting another, and going back to that one while I was finishing this one. So they almost came out, they were almost done simultaneously and almost came out simultaneously. I mean,
right,
Apex just came out recently
right.
and Ellefson-Soto was supposed to come out in May originally, but they moved it because the Apex came out. They didn't want to, yeah, you don't. I don't want to fight conflict with myself.
Yeah, right. Um, okay, so you just had two albums come out this year. I know you're playing some Soto Beeler shows coming
Yeah,
up, right? What's going on?
yes,
What's
sir.
coming up with that?
Well, Soto Beeler, we've been doing the acoustic thing for since 2000. I think I joined him in 18, like jamming with them, but in 19 would be official that we actually started doing it together as Soto Beeler.
Yeah.
And from that, obviously, we were talking about Saigon Kick earlier, and would I ever do it if Jason asked me? The answer is yes, because I am doing it.
Yeah.
I'm singing with Saigon Kick as Saigon Kick at the Prague Power USA Festival, the annual
Right.
festival in Atlanta in September. It's coming up in a week and a half. I have a lot of homework to do.
That's right.
I loved the first two albums when they first came out, and then I loved the next two albums when Jason was the singer.
Yep.
So I know all that material as if I were a fan. I didn't learn the stuff. I didn't listen to it because I had to learn it. I listened to it because I actually enjoyed it. This show came about because I've been doing these shows in Indonesia with the biggest band in Indonesian history. It's a band called Dewa 19. And we did something, a collaboration, the Dewa All Stars with Billy Sheehan, Simon Phillips, Derek Sherinian, and Bumblefoot, and Dino Jalusic a couple of years back. From that, they wanted to extend that into the live forum. And we did a few stadium shows with them a few years ago. And then they announced they wanted to do some more stadium shows this year. It was supposed to be in January. Now Dino was on that, guys from Extreme, Mr. Big, etc. I wasn't on it because I already did something with the guys. Without all those guys, I did something with Dewa, and I was doing something else in the middle of this year with them. So they said, instead of you being part of everything, let's take you out of this next All Stars and put you in the next one. So just to kind of let it breathe a little bit. So I'm still working with them, but not to be on everything with them.
Yep.
I said, no problem.
Yep.
So in January, they double booked the gig, the venue. They had to postpone it. And so all the names that they had on the bill, including Dino, they told, we're going to do this September now. Dino said, I'm sorry, my band Jalusic is booked at the Prague Power Festival in Atlanta. Can't do it. John Waite was on the bill, January, September, I can't do it. So they both pulled out. They asked me, oh, we don't want to fill in with anybody different or new. So will you do it, Jeff? Yes, I'll do it. So basically I was replacing Dino and not John Waite, but
Yeah.
just replacing people that weren't able to do it in September.
Yep.
Sometime in maybe April or May, maybe I forgot what month. I know I started seeing a trickle effect of bands that had to pull out of Prague Power because of visa issues. It's always been an issue. Some bands were able to get through, but this year has been an onslaught of issues. So many bands had to be changed out and swapped out because a lot of them were overseas. They couldn't get the visas going. And I can only give you one guess why. So from that, Dino was all of a sudden available again. Oh, Dino, if you're free, let's put you back in September. I love that. Oh, shoot. We already said yes to Jeff. We don't need Jeff anymore. Sorry, Jeff. We're not going to use you anymore. It's all right. I already did something with you a couple months ago. I'm coming back next year to do something else. It's fine. It's not bumming me out at all. I missed one show. No big deal.
No.
The next day, Prog Power. Hey, guys, we're really in a bind. We know something like this would be a great replacement for Jalusic because it's hard to replace. Jalusic is kicking ass right now. Dino's what a monster singer, one of my dear friends. But if I wasn't his friend, I would champion this guy's voice and this band. I love this band. I love their music. I love him.
Yeah.
They said the only thing we can think of that would be that kind of soften the blow of losing Jalusic, because Beeler and I have been doing the acoustic thing there every year, but it's acoustic. Would you be willing to do a one-off Saigon kick show for us with Jeff singing?
Yeah.
Jason said, if Jeff is into it, I'm into it. So we said yes. So I replaced Dino. Dino replaced me back, and now we're replacing Dino at Prog Power.
Holy. And that's, I mean, that's just a one-off thing, right?
One-off.
I mean, there's not
we announced earlier this year that we were going to go out and do some shows.
Yeah.
And the first shows were going to be in Southern California when we had those fires, and with the loss of the Palisades and Altadena, there was just so much devastation. It was kind of like a mini 2001. It was kind of going back to that. It's kind of hard to feel jovial and celebrate. Hey, everybody, come to the show when people don't even have homes. They don't even know what they're, So we pulled out of those shows, and then we're talking about when should we revisit, and then things got busy, and we're like, you know what? Let's just let it lie right now. Let's not even think about it. So we haven't rescheduled the actual shows that we were planning on doing originally. And so for right now, it's the only one is the one that's coming up in a week and a half.
Okay. We have covered a ton.
Yes, sir.
And I thank you so much for going into so much detail. Truly. Is there anything that you're like, dude, you missed this? We should have talked about this.
No, I think I cut you off enough to fill in those little details. I'm sure when we hang up, I'm going to think, oh, I forgot to bring that up. But yeah, I mean, well, first of all, I have to thank you for even allowing this to go 2 hours, much less 4. It's ridiculous. I never imagined. I even told you in advance. I go, this thing's going to be long, but I never imagined it would go over what we've done. And I apologize to anybody who had to watch in parts, because you could have actually released it in parts, but if you release it in whole, leave that up to the people to decide if they want to watch it in whole.
Yeah.
I thank you for allowing me to. You allowed me to not only spew a lot of the details that I've wanted to talk about for a long time, and to really celebrate 40 years in this business, but you also got me to talk about things that I haven't talked about with anybody. So I gave you a lot of exclusives, and I wanted to give that to you because that's my thank you for giving me this platform to truly discuss 40 years of my career. And I have to thank you for that.
I say this, like, the best interviews are the ones where you kind of forget you're doing interviews. And
right.
And it just felt like I was just chatting with some dude about music. It was phenomenal. You have such an amazing career, and more people need to know about the things that you have done. So hopefully this channel does a small part in maybe introducing a few people that didn't know about you. I love so much of what you've done in your career. I'm looking forward to what you do in the future. I hope to see you December 30th. I know you have a Facebook page. I know you have an Instagram page. Is there any, and I'll put those in the description. Is there anywhere else that I need to?
Yeah, I'm still on X or Twitter, or X, whatever you want to call
Twitter,
it. But those are the only thing. I don't have TikTok and Snapchat and all those other things. Yeah, just those 3.
Okay.
Yeah, and anything we might have missed, that's an easy fix. You just look at my wiki page, because they're not necessarily things to have a full-on discussion about, but there's so many bands and people I'm related with, and things that I've done that are interesting in their own research. Right.
Yes, yes, and albums that you sang on. I mean, and I've got all this stuff, and I was like, oh,
That's awesome, man. Thank you.
we could have talked all day. Go out and buy the Ellefson-Soto project. Jeff Scott Soto. My dog is pushing my computer. Jeff Scott Soto. It has been an honor talking to you. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Anthony. Appreciate it, man.